Coming through. Okay, we are live. All right. Hold on. Okay. If you're for the training, please let's start. Let's sit here. We'll go live right away. We'll start right away. Okay. Okay, we are starting. Can someone, Clifford? I believe you can monitor the YouTube too. It's open in one of those, whatever, to know if people are joining us. I can also see it here. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Uh-uh. You are looking very serious. Okay. You're welcome to Jethro. You probably need to help me with this clicker. Once it's not clicking. Wait, I turned it off, sorry. I'm not. Okay. I'm the one controlling it now. Okay. All right. I believe some people are joining us online as well. So um, before we start, let's pray. It's if you can come and sit down. Okay, Jesus, we thank you this afternoon for making this possible. Your word says we should not be slothful in business. We should be fervent in spirit. We should serve the Lord and give in all diligence. We should add to our faith, virtue, and every other things. So we have come today to add. We have come to sharpen up our skills. We have come to learn new things. And we ask that you will coordinate every activity here today in Jesus' name. That at the end of the day, all glory will be unto you. In Jesus' name we pray. All right. So we're starting, and you're welcome. I think most of us are from Jesus' house. It's been a while I saw you. Okay, and we have someone from uh, House of Glory, Grace Sanctuary. Yeah, welcome. So, the I think the purpose of this training essentially is to, we call it temple sound, right? So most of the things we're going to be discussing will focus on church audio, and it's supposed to be a live mixing session. Daniel, I thought we were moving the mixers up. Are we still moving them? The mixers are coming forward. Okay. Because the way I'm thinking or trusting God to help us today is I won't just be talking for a very long time. Will go behind the mixers. I will introduce you to the mixers. The mixers, I've not given them names, but I can tell you the story behind each of them. So, so we'll go there and then at least we'll have a feel of what it means to be behind the board. And we'll see how God will help us. So, and again, sound. What we're actually going to focus on today as well is, I'm just doing some form of introduction so that to prepare our mind. It's more of live mixing. Now, mixing is just a part of sound production. There are so many other things that goes into making sound, making it sound good. So mixing is one of them, although many people, many professional sound engineers consider mixing as the art of sound engineering, or the mixer as the brain box in sound, because without the mixer, you are pretty limited, and you don't even, you can't really do much in terms of sound production. So, you might be wondering, who is this guy that is talking to you? I know many people knows me, but my name, my official name, is Emmanuel Bamiche Adiagbo. Yeah, Emmanuel is actually my first name. Many people knows me as Bamiche, and my last name is Adiagbo. So, by God's privilege, I run a business here in town in Saskatoon. Has my slide gone? Don't let the slide go. Okay. So I run a business here. The name of the business is, some of you must have seen it, Tag Productions, or Tag AVL Productions. It's essentially just name. So what we do is we do quite a number of things. Among them, we help churches to set up their sound. At least we can mention 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. A number of churches, both in town, Saskatoon, Heart of Town, Regina, Fort McMurray, and some other churches we've consulted. So we do audiovisual and lighting consultation. We consult for churches. Okay, if you're having issues with your sound, they consult us. We look at it holistically. We help them diagnose. So we know, okay, what's the problem? What's going on here? And we are able to do that because we have the knowledge. So that's one of the reasons why we are here today. I probably will be sharing some stories. Some of you must have heard that story. Yeah. So about me, let me start about me. It's not about me anyway, but, and even before I go on, before I forget, this trading, some people are behind this thing that actually made it possible. And we are going to give them flower before the end of the, like, we will acknowledge them. They did excellent work. Oh my goodness. This morning I was just thinking that this thing, you know, men like Or and Aaron, right? They ran with the vision and they made this possible. We are here because they put in the work. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. You know yourself, we'll call you out eventually. So, yeah, I studied electrical and electronics engineering, University of Lagos, and I came here to do a master's. Let's just put a full stop there now. Some people know what I'm talking about. And I started sound engineering in 2006. That's 18 years ago, so I'm about 2 decades in the industry. So the reason why I'm saying that is, if you have been doing something for 18 years, you have been consistent, you know something, right? So in the world of sound, nobody knows it all. That's the truth. But we can say a few things and help us to. Am I the one pressing this thing, or just let me go to the next slide? This one. So I was talking about what Tag Production does. We consult for churches. We help churches diagnose what the problem is. We do procurement as well. We have a number of dealership, like if you want to get quality gears. At least, like I said, I can count a number of churches that we've also helped to get gears, to install, do some maintenance, do some training. We do trainings like this. So, talking about training, this is free for now. I might not be free in the future. And the reason why I'm saying that is it actually costs us money to put this together. Each mixer, if we're going to put a price tag to the organization of this in terms of equipment rentals and things, at least we're looking at nothing less than $4,000, $5,000 at least. But this is one of the mandates personally God has given me to help churches with their sound. And I would give you a little background to that. I think I was in a church in Nigeria. And my experiences with churches, everything started back in Nigeria. Sorry, I'm just saying this just as introduction to let everybody settle in. So most of the churches I've gone to that are big churches, I found out that most of the people that manage their sound are not necessarily believers. Because sound is a skill. Anybody can learn it. And I believe that it's also a major part of worship. So I just took it upon myself that I'm actually going to learn this thing and be good at it. And in the process, I got the conviction to also pass on the knowledge so that we can be many, right? So it's just not going to be only one person. And we have people that are saved, that are spirit-filled, that are managing sound because it's part of worship. So I think that's what actually gave birth to Temple Sound. And thanks to my wife, she gave it that name. So, and then so tag production, we do that. We also do lighting production for events. We've done a couple of events. I don't have the picture. I would have loved to show you. Lighting event. We do event as well. Event, corporate gigs, social gigs, festivals, and so on and so forth. Anything that has to do with sound, lighting, and we do live stream also. We help put your event online. So that's about that. Next slide. Okay, so I think the next slide is going deep into the matter. Now, okay, yeah. So the sitting configuration is a bit. I had planned that we'll have a TV behind us, but the TV got broken. So it will have helped us to. We are sitting like this because of the live stream and camera recording. So what I would say is maybe let's leave the people that come late. Let them sit here. If you can sit here, at least you still have a good view of the screen. So I'm getting some messages. We have 2 people watching. Someone is asking for the link. Maybe they did not check their messages. Okay. I'm going to forward it to them from here anyways. You're welcome. Please come sit down, join us. And do we have anyone that did not register online here? If you did not register online, you will still register because we just need the data to at least to be able to update and to send. Yeah, maybe we can do this as well. Yeah. Who else is asking for? Okay, no one is asking again for the link. So, your role as a sound engineer in the church. Now, I use the word sound engineer. I don't want to use it loosely because to be an engineer in Canada, at least you have to go through a minimum of, I think, 4 years post-secondary school, bachelor's degree, right? So I'm not using engineer in that term so that nobody will hold me responsible. But maybe we should use sound tech, right? I mean, tech is a technician. You play a very important role in determining how the service is going to go, whether the service is going to go well, whether the worshippers, the congregants are going to have a good experience. A sound engineer plays a very critical role, a sound tech person. So what are the things? We do pre-service preparation. One of the things I've noticed in our church community, especially the black church community, is that we don't take this very important. Most times we don't even do this. And we'll see what pre-service preparation entails. In fact, it can determine how the service, of course, it will determine how the service is going to go. So you see sometimes, it helps, one of the importance of pre-service preparation is that it helps us to have consistent production. In some case, this Sunday the sound is good, everybody is happy, next Sunday it was not there. So that inconsistency, one of the reasons might be because we don't take pre-service. And what does that mean? What it means is that as a sound tech person, the rule of thumb is a minimum of, depending on the complexity of your setup is, a minimum of 30 minutes before the service starts. That's even the barest minimum, like standard. In some cases, you come an hour and a half before, because pre-service entails a number of things, right? You want to make sure your gears they are working. And sometimes it takes you time to figure that out, to make sure that is, in some cases you have already installed sound system. I think I'm hearing some feedback. Is it possible? Okay, you figured it out. Thank you, Clifford. Excellent. If you can just bring down the level in the house. I think it's in the house alone. Yeah. So you will hear something like, bring down the level. Is it not too quiet? Can you hear me? Okay, bring down the level. We'll try to if you have, and then, yes, I want it to be a little bit interactive. I don't want to be the only one talking. So if you have any question along the way, we'll get to the slide. Did I pass the slide? There is a slide for question. This thing is not working again. Can you go back to the QR code? There's a QR code, Slido. So you can scan the QR code. You can, someone is going to be monitoring that. Once we have questions, we'll be able to attend to it. So if you can quickly do that, scan the QR code if you have questions, if you're too shy to ask. But if you're not too shy, we have microphones here as well, so that people that are watching online. And if you're watching via YouTube as well, you can send a chat. At least I have the YouTube here open. So we'll try to make it interactive. So can we go ahead? Okay, let me just be calling next slide so that I'm not distracted. Okay, now let's go to role as a so we have, let's go back. We are still talking about, yeah. So our responsibility there is pre-service, preparation, and then during service. During service is very tricky. That's where, knowledge comes to play. I will try not to bore you with too much story, but stories are ways to even remember some of the points that we're trying to make. So during service, because it's live sound, your mistake might not be forgiven. Forgiven in the sense that not because we are not in the church. Forgiven in the sense that it's already passed. You can't go back and erase it. So if you mess up the service, you only have the next service to redeem yourself. But in some cases, some people don't even have that luxury because they lost their job. Because there are people that are paid as a sound engineer. So one of the benefits of attending this and probably subsequent one is an investment on yourself. Like, you are investing to gain knowledge, to grab knowledge. The things I'm teaching you, the things we're going to be talking about, I have spent time, sometimes money, sometimes not my personal money, but some people sponsored. So if you calculate 18 years, they say if you want to be master on something, you have to accumulate 10,000 hours. So I think if I've not accumulated 10,000 hours, I'll probably be very close. But I think if you calculate it 18 years, that's a long time. So people are just even clocking 18 years here. But it's okay. So I think the point I'm trying to make is knowledge is very important. So during service, you might not be able to redeem yourself. In fact, something happened. I'm not sure if I can call the name of church, but in a church, very popular church in Nigeria, because I know the sound engineer, the head of their sound production in that church. Let me tell you what happened. Some of you must have seen the video. In fact, because we have some form of forum to a sound engineer, so we discuss some of these things to learn. So the church does announcements. They don't do announcements in a conventional way. They do it like a TV production. So someone will come and present the announcement as if they are in a studio. They actually have a separate studio. So what happened was that the person that mic'd the person, like this type of mic, but it was using a lapel mic. We're not going to go into details of component of sound. Today is mixing workshop. So we're going to be focusing more on mixing. So the guy forgot to turn on the transmitter for the person. You see, that's very simple, right? And that's probably not the job of the guy on the mixer. So that's why, I've said something that to produce good sound, a lot of things are going behind the scene. It's not just the guy, the guy behind the mixer takes the shine. And that's why everybody gravitates towards the mixer. But the journey to the mountain top, you have to go through the valley. And in some cases, you go through the valley of wrapping cables. Some people wrap cables for years. Because you need to know how to wrap cables as a sound tech. Do you understand? You learn cable wrapping, you learn how to put things in their places. You learn organization, you learn how to connect, system tech. That's what we call system tech. How to connect the speakers together, the signal flow. So there's a lot, you learn how to rig sometimes. That's the job of some people, they are called riggers. When you see all those big concerts, and you see those big speakers that are hung, there are people, that's what they do full time. Because some people have lost their life because the rigger didn't do a proper job. It's actually a core engineering work that if it's not done properly, someone lost his license in Ontario some years ago because the stage collapsed and someone died. So it became a court case. So a lot goes into that. I was trying to say something before I deviated, so please pay attention so that you can bring me back. What was I saying? Okay, the mic, so they didn't turn on the transmitter. So it's announcement time came. This church is a big church, like big church. The pastor has said, okay, now we go to announcement. Now the person doing the announcement was just talking. He didn't know that his sound was not coming out. And the pastor turns around. Where is, he mentioned the name of the person. You know the way they would say, technical in our church. The pastor called the name of the guy. This guy, we've worked together some time ago. I said, this guy is in trouble. The pastor said, because the pastor is someone you know that strive for excellence. Said, somebody is going to lose his job today. Like, because you can't, it's an unforgivable sin. In quote, right? Eventually, so I was like, what could have gone wrong? So from my experience, I knew what probability, the things that could have gone wrong. So when they were able to resolve it, but it was embarrassing. It was, if you're a professional sound person and your name, people knows you and you hear your name in the ear, it was not a good situation. But I think the point is, every person that is involved in sound, if you mess up or you do something wrong, you can jeopardize the whole production. And, kudos to our video team. They are here. Let's give them a round of applause. But if you don't have video, you must have sound. Do you understand what I mean? Not to say that sound is more important than video. But I'm just trying to let you know how core sound is. Now we are online, people are hearing us. If not something happens and the cameras go off, we can still continue because they can hear what we are saying. The only thing they will be missing is the pictorial representation of what we are doing. So there is during service, there is post-service also. Chosen church that are here, I'm going to chop your high here. Your post-service responsibility, at least in the recent time you guys I can give you that flower that you are doing good. Okay, and there are some other additional duties that church sound tech. And to perform these roles, to be excellent, you need information, you need to be educated. Now education is not only in school. I didn't go to a certified sound institution, but I was trained professionally by one of the best in the world. At least I can say that anyway. There's a company called Meyer Sound in the US. You can Google it. It's in California. I'm probably going for another training later this year. When it comes to speaker production, manufacturing, they're like the Ferrari in the sound production. If you bring a Meyer sound system into this room, you will know that there's something different. Expensive speakers, but they are solid. If you have been to TCU concert before, they have Meyer sound in that space. That's their main concert. I think they have melodies, and if you have done some events there, they have Meyer rig there. The day I saw the rig, I was so happy. Is the battery dying on me? Okay, I think it's still good. Okay, so we just talked about battery. So let's go to the next one. Now, so what are the things you do pre-service, before the service? Equipment setup, we've looked at that. In some cases, most of us here, okay, before we even go on, how many of us are in the sound tech team here? Or maybe I should say, how many of us are not? Okay, we have good number of people that are not. The reason why I'm asking is so that I will not assume that we all, we all have the knowledge, or we have and the benefit is that's why we have the mixers here, ranging from the very tiny Presonus, not too tiny. He has done some gig for us. We have the Harlan and Hate. We only have one analog. Actually, we have two, but that one is also a very small one. But all these other mixers are digital mixers, and you can rock and roll with them. So, equipment setup involves, in some cases, your equipment are already 80 to 90% set up, right? You just need to bring some periphery, some other components, you just put them together. But the way I was trained in 2006, when we started sound, I started in fellowship, so we used to come and set up everything before service. And after service, we tear it down. Do you understand? So you can imagine that, imagine you have to set up this before service and tear it down after service. So that's why I find it hard to entertain excuse. People that have worked with me, like, you have to be on time. That's why we try to be on time today. I think we are just maybe 2 minutes behind, so I'm really proud of us. So you set up equipment, and then you do sound check. Now, we can spend the whole day on this point, because like I said, in many of our churches, we don't do sound check. And to have consistent live sound production, in fact, most of the things we do is what we call guerrilla mixing. You're just mixing on the fly. That's not professional. So if you are a music director listening to us, or you are part of the decision-making people in the choir, one of the things you need to take back today is sound check is a must. You will complain during the week in, week out, or occasionally that the sound is not consistent if you don't do sound check. It's very important, because it's during sound check, every musician will check their level, we make sure that their mix is good, because if you check the flyer, we talk about FOH mixing. Who can tell me FOH? What does FOH mean? Because I don't want to be front of house. Front of house is, an example of front of house is the mixer that is up there. In most of our churches here is Ascaton. They're usually up there. That's not the best place for a front of house to be. Just saying that and passing. A front of house mixing or mixer should be in the house, facing the front of house, feeling what the audience is feeling. We are not getting the same thing that people that are down here are getting up there in terms of sound wave propagation. So, sound check, very important. All the churches we all look in the TV or on YouTube that we like their sound, this is one of the things they get right. They do sound check. Many of them 30 minutes before service. I mean, a whole 30 minutes at least, depending on the size of your band. Do you understand? I mean, and if you have been doing it week in, week out, it might not even take you more than 15 minutes. But you must dot the I's and cross the T's. That's where you do that. That's where you finalize the production. And I will tell us some of the things we do that. And also, even pre-service, troubleshooting. Perhaps during sound check, you discover that something is wrong. Maybe a cable is making some noise. Maybe something, ground problem. That is where you fix it. That's why pre-service preparation is very important. You might be thinking, is this what we came to learn today? These are some of the fundamentals. It might sound simple and basic, but it's important. So let's go to the next one. Any questions so far? Okay, yeah.
So, for instance...
Bring microphone. Let them hear your voice. Because there are people that are watching online, so... Yeah. Someone said, I'm a beginner.
Praise
Okay.
God.
Yeah.
Sorry. For instance, pre-service prayer. Let me use the instance of this church setting.
Okay, okay.
Right. I noticed that we hardly have that time,
Yeah.
especially on Sundays, to set up the pre-service setting.
To do sound check.
To do sound check. To do sound check. And for instance, we're talking about, like, let me use a chosen generation, for instance. After the adult church finishes, it's now time for us.
Yeah.
What time do we have to do
And
the-
sometimes they eat into your time.
And sometimes they eat into our time. Or even, let me even talk about the adult church. What time do you have to set up
To do that.
especially for the church there? Is it possible to do a pre-service setting the day before against the service, or a few hours before
Before
the service?
service. Yeah. It's more ideal to do it few hours or few minutes before the service. And I'll give you at least one or two reasons. Number one, temperature affects sound. Do you know? Because sound travels through airwaves. That's the medium, at least for live sound production. So if it was a bit chilly in the room last night and we did the balance and we did sound check, you can come the following morning and hear something different, especially if you are a critical listener for sound. I mean, listening critically to the component of what makes up sound. So that's one. Number two, the people that did sound check yesterday, they're not exactly the same people that will sing the following day. I don't know if you understand what I mean by that. The texture and the tone of your voice then might not exactly be the same thing before service. On choir rehearsal on Saturday, you might probably be tired. You might not be hitting some notes that accurately. You might not be alive as the way you will be alive during the following day. And they are inconsequential things that we don't pay attention to, but they might make the difference. Do you understand? That's why it's advised. And a lot of other things that could change that before service. Now, if you remember when I was talking about that, I said the people that make decision, you make time for what is important. It's because we have not come to see that this is important to our sound production that we don't make time for it. If we know that we can't have a smooth sound production, we can actually, but I'm just placing premium on it that the people that we see, the churches we watch online, the production that we see that we like, there is a lot has gone into it, and one of the a lot is sound check. So my submission is, if it's important, we'll make room for it. We'll make time for it. That's just it. I mean, we've been surviving without it, right? So sometimes we see our sounds but we don't have consistent sound week in, week out. Do you understand? So that's just it. Some days it's what we call mini manimal, right? Someday you hit the point, everybody will be happy, yeah, you sound good. The other day. So if we want to have consistent production, we need to put this in place. That's a good question. So during service, rather. Okay, you have another question? Yeah, okay. Okay.
You might end up answering it as we go forward, but I just wanted to know, you said the sound that is heard from the FOH is quite different from what is being
From
aired
the
down.
top. Now, what I mean is, the sound we perceive up there is different from the sound you perceive down here. The reason is, these speakers were aimed to the people. So we will hear more of reflective sound than direct sound. And when you are mixing, you need to be able to perceive the direct sound that is coming from the PA. That's why when you go to big concerts, you see that there is a place directly in front of the PA, maybe it might be 50 or 100 feet away, that the front of house mixing console is. The reason is that because it's a live sound, is instant. So if you need to make any change, you need to be able to hear direct sound to be able to know what to adjust. Although, professionally speaking, if you are doing that kind of magnitude of sound, you don't really have much changes you are going to do eventually. The reason is because you've done sound check. So what sound check also will help you to do is to eliminate any surprises. Do you understand? It's rare in professional setting, things are done. You're just there to just make sure that your levels are good and probably monitor the dynamics, because some music are very dynamic. We might get there today. If we don't get to some point, I don't believe in rushing, because I've been doing this for 18 years. There is really, we might not even be able to scratch the surface within 4 hours. I'm trusting God that God will help us to actually, it will be a worthwhile time anyways. So during service, what you do, you mix audio. And that's the workshop we want to do today. So what are the things you need to know to operate a digital board? We'll get there. Let me just run through this. You monitor as well. So what are the things you are monitoring? You are monitoring levels. Now, let me just quickly say this. We'll get there, but let me quickly say that we're talking about live mixing. So live mixing can now have 3, at least, main applications. You have the front of house, you have the monitor mix, you see monitoring, and you have nowadays we have the broadcast mix, because most of our churches are streaming online. Now, those are 3 different things. The good thing is, if you understand the principle of mixing, you can apply that principle to cater for each need. Because what the instrumentalist need is totally different from what the congregation needs to hear. If you mix, for example, let's say the drummer, if you mix what the drummer needs for the house, you are going to be a bad front of house mixing engineer. Do you understand? Because they are different. I will explain. That might not make sense now, but we'll explain as time goes on. And if you mix broadcast for the house, it might not be a pleasant experience as well. So they have different applications, but if you understand the principle, you know, okay, this is when I apply this is when I don't apply this. So you do monitoring. And the last thing, communication, which I think, from my own perspective, many sound, even professional sound tech people are lacking in terms of communication. Because communication involves, giving feedback as well. I can tell you, I've been doing sound in church for a long time. I started in church, I'm still in church. Church is one of the places you get most annoying comment and most annoying feedback. In fact, people, okay, then let's rant today. Let's teach. So communication is also very important during service. And that's why we now have a system called talkback system. That as the person that is on the monitoring, that is doing monitor for the musicians, you have a system you can talk into their ears, that, okay, how is it going? They can communicate back to you that, okay, can I have this and this? That's in the case where they don't have their own personal monitoring system. Because God has really helped us. Technology has, evolved to the point that each musician can also have access to do their own mix by themselves. Because what a monitor engineer is doing is that he's making sure that each musicians are adequately catered for. We'll get there shortly. Let's go to the next one. So I'll take like 2 or 3 slides and then we'll take questions. So post-service, you tear down, break down sound like you are breaking something. But we call it tear down generally, and you storage. That's why you have storage. For example, there are some microphones that you don't want them to be in the sanctuary. You take them to the storage, some cables. If you need to do some maintenance, you do that. And you review and feedback. This is also very important. And we don't do it. We don't. And when it comes to feedback, I've even found myself being offended most times, but thank God for the Holy Spirit. Because some people don't know how to give feedback. And I don't blame them, because they actually don't know what they are talking about. So they don't know how to communicate it. Someone will just come with that, it's just too loud. it actually might not be too loud. It might just be that maybe the dynamic of the mix is not okay. But he doesn't know what dynamic of the mix is. It's just too loud. Or someone is saying, what are those things they normally say? We've seen a lot of things. So review and feedback is also post-service. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to talk on that.
Okay.
People complain about our sound because we attended Nigerian churches. I worship, before I don't see it as a big deal. But when a day that they invited me to Catholic Church, we have a crowd of about 400, and they were talking slowly, and everybody we heard everything. Even my husband was saying, "Are we in another realm?" Yeah. But when you come to our church, even at times in my own church, I used to go out.
Because it's too loud.
Because when it is too loud, and according to the earth, you must not stay on anything above 70 decibel. But in our own church, assuming we want to mayor, we are violating laws.
Okay, speaking on that. Okay.
Yeah,
Continue.
So that's the reason why a lot of people, but they don't know how to communicate.
How to communicate it, yeah.
If you want to communicate to people, you have to communicate in a manner that, even they will know that if you want to correct someone, you have to correct someone in a,
Yeah. There's a tone usually.
There is a tone. But, it's because they were so annoyed. That's.
Okay, thank you for bringing that.
And is it possible to do that in a Nigerian church?
Yeah.
Because these people have been doing it and no complaint.
Okay. Now, I will quickly talk to that, and then we can go to the next slide, but let's just quickly address that. How many of us actually believe that a typical Nigerian church is loud? How many of us believe? Okay. I'll tell you that one of the reasons why we believe that is in most of our Nigerian churches, apologies, but I'm not sorry, we are not making music. If you notice, let me put it to you that in some cases, how many of us have gone to rock and roll concerts? Most of them are actually louder than church. But because they are making music, your brain is tricked. Because you are enjoying what you are hearing. Even though it is loud, you are not aware. Do you understand? Now, that brings us to a very crucial point. I said to make good sound, to produce good music, it's not just the board. A lot. In fact, the first rule of thumb in sound is the source. And what are the sources of our sound? In some churches, the drum is not tuned. If you play a tuned drum, if you play it loud, and you play an untuned drum, you play it at the same level, you will offend people with an untuned drum. People may not even know that your drum is loud because it is tuned. It's making sense to them. They are enjoying it. Even though it's loud, they may not realize that it's loud. So in most cases, that's the first point from observation and from years of experience. The second thing as well is many people are actually partially deaf and they don't know. Now, in our here, we have 20,000 cones and rods. I think I'm correct. Those sensors are what perceive sound in our ear. Now, in some people, you have a total of 20,000, maybe 10,000 is no more responding to sound. That's partial deafness. And I mean, like you said, one of the things that's responsible for partial deafness is actually prolonged to too loud noise. Now, I think the threshold for about 8 hours averagely is nothing more than 90-something dB. That you shouldn't be exposed to 90-something, I can't remember the exact figure now, for 85 dB for more than 8 hours. So if you do that consistently, you are putting pressure on your ear, and then eventually some of them will give way. So what that means is that you will not be able to perceive some frequency. So if the music we are playing in church is heavily in the mid-range, and your mid-range receptors are damaged, to you, the sound will not be loud. You're even thinking that, why is this place so quiet? Do you understand? Because you are not responding. So that's another. The rule of thumb as a mixing person is you also even read the room. If you are mixing for old congregation, there are some levels you don't want to go. There is a way you mix that will appeal to them. If you are mixing for young people, So there are a number of other factors that we may need to also talk into. Another factor is who is managing the sound? What's the person's level of understanding and knowledge? Another factor is what we've also talked about. In some of our churches also, the mixing engineer is locked in a room. So he doesn't even know what's going on in the church. He doesn't know whether it's loud or not. So you see me, if you notice, occasionally I'll come down here to observe, to know, okay, what's going on, to perceive. Because sometimes if I'm too loud, I may not necessarily know up there. It might sound okay to me. Because we are not hearing the same thing. So these are there are some of these simple things that they have compound effect. So that's why we are organizing this also, so that we don't make people partially deaf in church. Because it's part of, as a professional sound person, I'm supposed to be going for hear check at least twice a year, every 6 months, to check, to make sure that everything is okay. Okay, additional duties, training and support. We are here training as a sound tech person. System upgrade. Yeah, technology is changing. The way we used to do things 10 years ago is pretty different the way we do it now in live sound. 20 years ago, everywhere you go, you see an analog board. It's hardly you see an analog board these days. Everything has gone digital. And it has made life easier. It has helped us to be able to achieve more. You listen to some live recording now, they're actually recorded out of board. And they sound pretty good. You think they did it in the studio. And we're like, how did they achieve this? It's because, technology has helped us. So, in some cases, you need to upgrade your system. You need to, go to the next level if you want to get a better result. Because each equipment has its own limitation. That's also there. So if you understand the limitation of your equipment, you'll be able to know when upgrade. Documentation. Personally, I'm not very good at this. Sit down with documenting. That's why God has given, I have very strong team members that they are helping in this regard. So you need to know people's strength also. So what you do in documentation is you must have an inventory. As a sound person, what are the things you have in your storage? If the pastor calls you tomorrow and asks, okay, you must be able to give account because you're a custodian of God's resources. So documentation also is very important. And I'll shout out to David. David helped us did some documentation. I can dictate it to you. And where in the scripture, there are people that are scribes. So, yes. So documentation is also very, very important. As in, these are the things that we don't pay attention to them, but they are important. Let's go to the next slide. So these are some of the additional duties. Now, we now begin to talk about basics of I will rush through some things because I really want us to get behind the board and just test our hand on some things. And there will be some eureka moment for some of us. Say, okay, this is why this is this. Oh, I see. Knowledge. We'll talk about key components, signal flow, practical consideration, and safety. So, like I said, there are a lot of things that make up the sound. Let's go to the key component. Okay. Now, the first one you see here is a microphone. But I will use a generic word as sound source, the source of the audio. In most of our applications, the microphone is the source. Now, understanding how microphone works, different type of microphone, different classes of microphone, we can actually spend another 2 hours talking about that. We call it microphone technology. Because if you understand that, you understand application of each type or each classes of microphone. So we are not going to, that's not what we are today. So another major component is the mixing console, is a mixer. That's the main one we are going to really be looking at today. The mixer is an amazing tool that if you know how to use it, I mean, some people build their career on it. That's what they do. That's what they know how to do. Either live or in the studio. They just know how to mix. And the analogy I use for mixing is you are a chef. You want to cook something. Now, let me quickly say something about that. Some people like to taste salt in their food, even though they are playing with high blood pressure. If you do that consistently, I mean, you'll probably be 50 and you start managing high blood pressure. Some people like to taste sauce, like pepper. If you are from the part of the world that I came from, we like it hot. Now, the reason why I'm using that analogy is your taste of music or sound, or the kind of sound you have exposed yourself to, will create a template in your mind, and it will influence your mixing. So one of the things you do to be an excellent mixing engineer or mixing tech is to expose yourself to good or well-mixed music. Because when you listen to music, as a sound person, now, for some of us, we have been indoctrinated to sound. Now, one of the things you need to begin to pay attention is, what quality of music do you listen to? So in some of our churches, people that produce that noise, it might be that that's all they know to produce. Because they don't really know the music. They don't know how should the kick drum sound in a mix? How should the bass guitar sound in this genre of music? Do you understand? So we can now begin to go a little bit deeper at that. Okay, when you're playing jazz, how does your grand piano sound in a jazz mix compared to R&B or compared to reggae? Now, it's sounding interesting and a little bit confusing, but that is sound for you. The way the person that mixes for a jazz concert will mix is going to be different from the way someone that is mixing for a rock and roll. Now, I'm using those terms because we're in Canada. But, okay, let's just mixer. So, the next one is signal processing. Now, signal processing has come a long way too, because how many of us have seen, there's a video of a lady in the studio. Some of us must have seen that video. It was a comedy. This lady was singing nonsense in the studio, but what was coming out from the speaker was really sounding good. So you see the sound engineer sweating and, doing a lot of things. But when you get into the studio, she wasn't even singing on key. Her timing was bad. I know that was an exaggerated joke. The point I'm trying to make is, okay, let me use this. Some of us might be, this one might be relatable. How many of us have been in a service and the sound, everything sounds so good, everybody, the spirit moved. Now when you go back home and you went to watch online, it was a different ball game. I mean, we are familiar with that. Okay, that's a good. What that means, two things. Number one, it validates the point I just made some other time, like a few minutes ago, that the need for in-house sound is different from the need online. That is why in a standard or in a more, standard is the word, or more professional setting, you have a different setup for what you have in the house and a different setup for what is catering for live stream, because they are two different things. Another thing is that the resolution online is higher than here. What that means is that it's like what you can see with your eyes and what you can see under a microscope. Online is a little bit more microscopic. So any mistake the person that is singing makes, you hear it better online than in the house. There are a number of things that's responsible for that, but we'll get there. Do you understand? So if the person is singing a little bit out of pitch, like it's flatting or is not hitting some note properly, you might not notice in the house, but the secret will be revealed on the rooftop. Do you understand? So that's I was trying to make, okay, signal processing. So that's where signal processing comes into play. That the ingenuity of the progress in technology has given us some tools that we can, put together to make what is good better and what is better sound best. See where I started from? It has to be good. You can't give us rubbish and you can't impute what is bad and expect it to come out good. A sound engineer is not a magician. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. And like I said, today is we want to train. We don't want to start, shaking some tables. But we might need to do that at some point. So that's signal processing. You're processing the signal, your compression, that's where compression comes into play. Equalization, your EQ, that's signal processing. You are shaping the tone of the sound with an EQ. You are adding reverb, you are adding effects, you're putting some things, we call it constructive mixing. You are adding things, you are removing things to make sure that what comes out eventually sounds good. That's signal processing. And then power amplifier. Power amplifier is more applicable in live sound setting because the reason why we have microphone and speaker is because the person up there, his voice might not be able to reach all of us, right? So we need to amplify the sound. So we need an amplifier, and we need the speaker to, the amplified sound to project it out. So these are basically what you will see in a sound system setup. We can take each of them and tear them into pieces and spend time to look at them, but today we are looking at mixing console. Next question. Yeah. No, it's good. I don't want to be the only one talking, so I want to.
I'm just curious to know. You said there's a different setup with the broadcast and the in-house setting. Is it possible to have the two mixes on one mixer?
Yeah, that's a very brilliant question. Thank you for asking that question. There are some people in class that until they ask questions, the lecturer might not get there. Right, so that's why I really want us to be having those questions. Do we have any question on Slido yet? There are no questions here. So, now, they are not paying me, but when I see something good, I try to project it. And there's a company called Behringer. Behringer has done so much for, especially church sound, that God will reward them, will repay them. They are making good money. So anyways, I will introduce you to all the mixers we have. They are giving us something that is at least minimum that we can work with to have something good, right? So you can use, the answer to the question is you can use one mixer to do everything. In fact, in most of our churches, that's what we do. We have one mixer, it's catering for the front of house, it's catering for the monitor, and it's catering for the live stream. Now, if you know what you are doing, if you are serious with what you do, if you have the knowledge, you can still get something good out of that. There is a way to go about it. We call it optimization. You are optimizing the device you have for now. And that's one thing that a sound person needs to know how to do. I know many times we want to work with the high-end gear, but the Bible says, he who is faithful in little. Do you understand? And what I have seen about that, because, it's almost like I was trained from the grassroots. When you are trained from the grassroots, when you go to the posh place, you will just be dusting them, right? At least the theory works to a good extent. So if you need to learn how to maximize whatever equipment you have, it doesn't matter how bad it is. And that is where you even refine your skill. So we can do that. That's a simple answer. We'll probably, hopefully get there today. Like I said, our next training might not be free. We trust God for sponsorship. If you want to sponsor us, we are open to sponsorship. So, but because it costs to put this together. Yeah, we'll get there. But the answer is yes. How is is a course on its own. So it's like a 6 month, 1 year course. But we'll just touch on them. Signal flow. Now, in the old sound system setup, there is signal flow. Also on your mixer, there is signal flow. Because what we are dealing with is signal. Now, let me use this microphone as an example. I'm talking to you, you can hear me from the PA. The sound that I'm making has passed through the microphone. And because I'm using a wireless system, it has been transformed to an electromagnetic wave, and it has been transmitted wirelessly to a receiver. You can see the chain now. I have a transmitter in my pocket. There is wire attached to the microphone. So the sound I'm making, this microphone is changing it to an electrical signal. So it's going to the transmitter. The transmitter takes the electrical signal, transforms it to an electromagnetic wave that we cannot see with our eyes. And the receiver over there is receiving the signal, transforming it back to an electrical signal. So there is a cable behind the receiver that's connected to the mixer. And then the mixer takes the signal, mixes it, sends it out through cable again. Now in this case, it's through a Cat5 internet cable to, no, it's not. Yes, Cat5 to the stage box, because they are output on the stage box. So the stage box is connected to now the speaker. You can see that it has gone through different stages. So that's what we call signal flow. Now, that is on the outside. In the mixer itself, the signal also travels from one stage to another, because there are also different components and modules in the mixer. So those are some of the things we're going to be focusing on today. What time is it now? 1. We'll go on break by 2, so let me know. We'll just go on 5-minute break. Sorry, I have a bottle of water up there beside the food. Yeah, please. My throat is drying. I can do this for the next 6 hours without looking at the book. I've been doing this for a while, so to a good extent, I can say something. Thank you, Clifford. So, in our signal flow, we have the input stage, we have the mixing and processing, we have the amplification and the output. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay. Feedback control, practical consideration. Let's skip this one. Let's go to the next one. Safety, cable management, volume level. I think we've talked about this. Let's go to the next one. Signal flow in the mixer. Yeah, signal flow in the mixer. That's where we want to do. Now, let's go back to signal flow in the mixer. The previous, yes. So we have the input stage. Because we have most of the mixers we have here today, they are digital mixer. So there is another stage called ADC, analog to digital conversion, because the analog signal has to be converted to digital signal. I won't bore you too much with those theory. Now we have the digital processing stage, because it's a digital domain. We have mixing and summation, and then what we hear from the speaker is actually an analog signal. So you have to convert it back to analog. And then you have the output stage. So let's go to the next. So this is where how are we going to do it? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Probably 8, but I'm not sure. Okay, the people upstairs might be able to use that one. So we have 8 mixers here. So can we have a shot of the mixers? How many are we here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18, 19. Okay. I think at least the people upstairs can use that. So we use the slide to guide us, and then we'll begin to look at all these stages in the mixer. So before we go, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You might be lucky to have a fancy looking mixer. You might be lucky to have, there is one particular mixer there. I got it in 2017. It has a sentimental value to it. That's my first digital mixer. I don't think I will ever sell it. It's even after his lifetime, it will be in the archive, in the museum. This, there's a story behind that mixer. It has served and it's still serving, and it will continue to serve and make more money in Jesus' name. Amen. And more will be added. So, as in, I don't want to do advertisement, but it's our training. All these mixers are from TAG Productions. By God's grace, God has given us all these. But we need money to maintain them. So that's why I'm saying the training is not cheap. But we'll go there and look. We'll look at different. Some look very nice. Some look, they've done a lot of work. But if you understand the principle, you can go on any mixer today and navigate your way around. Do you understand? So it doesn't matter the type of mixer you have, whether even if it's an analog. The only difference is some mixers will have more features than others. It's just like you have a 2010 Corolla, right? And a 2020 Corolla. One of the major differences is that functionalities, right? In 2010, probably, I don't think, maybe a 2010 will have Google. What's that thing you connect your phone wirelessly to your car? No, not Bluetooth, go. Google car. Android, that's what I'm, Android Auto. I don't think a 2010 will have. I don't think so. Or maybe let's go back and maybe a 2005. But you will see that in a 2020, 2021 vehicle. That's a feature, right? So you might be limited in your signal processing or your mixing with some digital board. And we talk about system upgrade, right? That's why sometimes, probably what you want to achieve, the mixer doesn't have the feature to achieve it. So you are limited, right? So you now begin to maybe talk to your pastor. Pastor, and we need to do a system upgrade. And pastor will say, there is no budget for it yet. Maybe you wait till next year. But that next year, another mixer is coming next year. Where it can become a cycle, an interesting cycle. So let's do, Daniel, is there are you ready for us? Yes. How far do you want them to go? They can't get too far here. Yes, I don't think so. It will take a lot. We can move them forward. Yes, come, yeah. So, Dubem, Fikumi, please help us to move them forward. So while they are doing that, let's go through so the input, it's hard to see, right? Yeah. That was why we brought that TV, but that TV is damaged. If it were to be that TV, we just put it there and everybody will be able to see. Yeah? Can they zoom? If they zoom, it will lose resolution. But at least I can see. I would interpret to you. So you can see the first one is a guitar, right? That's just to represent the input, where the sound comes from. So in some cases, what is there is a piano. In some cases, what is there is a drum set, like set of drum that is mic'd. Now, there is something very important in sound that we talk about. We talk about the source. If the source is bad, there's nothing you can do. The Bible says, if the foundation be destroyed, it said, what can the righteous do? If your audio source is bad, what can a sound engineer do? That's a serious question. It's $1 million. What's that? Mute. Yeah. Because, my ears have seen, my ears have heard. In some cases, because as a mixing person, you can actually hear, there are capabilities in most of the mixer that you can hear each channel. You know the person that doesn't know the song in your choir. We know what our eyes have seen in this life. We know the person that does not, what is playing is not really, do you get? Now, if the source, if what is coming to you is bad, there's really, you're already limited in what you can do. Some cases, the best you can do is to mute so that the person will not spoil. And somebody will say, I can't hear myself. No, you cannot. Because what you are singing, if all of us hear what you are singing, we are not going to be happy. Or you bring down the person's level. And some people will say, they are open my... God will help us. I'm just letting you know some secret. And another very funny secret, before we go, I'm just, when someone say, I can't hear myself. You say, okay. You just do as if you did something on the mixer. And you say, how is it nice? The person will say, yeah, good. You didn't do anything, no? I know some people are shaking their head. Yeah, we've done that before. God will forgive all of you. But, that's just on the side. Input. So that's why we take care of the source. The source. If the source is bad, what can the sound engineer do? Now, the next thing is equally as important as the source. So let's assume we are now able to get good source. Our drum set is tuned properly. We are able to select good microphone for that. And they are placed properly. So there's also what we call microphone. So all these things are part of your source. There's what we call microphone placement. That there's a way you place your microphone depending on the type of microphone. That's why understanding microphone technology is also very important. So if you don't place your microphone the way it's supposed to be placed, you might not be getting the good part of your source. That's why when it comes to singing also, there is what we call microphone techniques. Can I have this microphone? I will turn it off so that someone is singing and is singing, everybody's enjoying it. But you want to pitch and hit some notes, right? And when you are doing that, you are likely going to shout more. And you still keep the microphone at the same level. What you have done is that it's either the person on the mixer is able to catch that and bring down your level manually, or the better thing you could do when you are pitching is to move the microphone a little bit away, so that the difference in that volume is negligible, is small, right? That's one of the things that affect the dynamic of the music. So someone is singing and you are going to raise your voice or shout, and you put the microphone at the same level, you've just committed a crime. I just use that word to know how important that is. So that is dynamics, right? So as someone that sings, you need to understand that there is also what we call proximity effect. That if you want to sound bassy, you move your microphone closer. And if you want to sound thinner, you move it a little bit away. So all those knowledge, they help the person behind the mixer. Do you understand? So we're still talking about the source, where the sound is coming from. So your source is sometimes the voice, sometimes the musical instrument. The guitar that is used there, I play the guitar, so I know our trick. Sometimes some very wise guitarists, when you are doing sound check, they'll put the level very low. So when they now start to play, they will crank it up. But they don't know that we have the key. If you are the mixing guy, you have the key. If someone offends in the choir, you can make sure the person doesn't hear himself. But we know that's why we are believers. We have the Spirit of God in us. Okay. So we're still talking about the source. Now the next one is the preamp. Preamp is actually one of the components of your mixing console that determines the price of the console. So you see very expensive console, they have solid preamps. Because that preamp, that is the first stage of mixing. And we're going to look at it now. And then the next one is ADC. All those ones are core electronics. And like I said, I train as an electrical and electronic engineer. So I have an in-depth understanding of all these components. In fact, for my final year project, I designed a power amplifier and an equalizer. So I know the mathematics that goes into some of these things. So it gives me an edge, and it helped me to also learn very quickly. Gain. So let's go and see gain. Everybody, come, let's go and see gain. And yeah, so, and before we see gain, I will introduce you. This is a Behringer wing. It's one of the best things that's happened to life sound in the last 5 years. So let's just go through the mixer. This is the Behringer wing. It can do up to 48 channels input, and it can do up to 16. It has 16 buses. I know you. I'm not going to bore you with what that is, but one of the coolest features I like about this board is it has 4 main outs, like 4 main left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right. What that means is that where is John? The question you asked the other time, that can we use one mixer to do live stream and in-house. This solves that problem, because with this I can have a separate mix for the main PA, which is the main house, and that's the way we set up here, and you can have another separate mix for broadcast, separate. So it's small but mighty. The only thing that most professional engineers, one of the issues they have with this board is the preamp, because it's relatively cheaper. So, you know, you can't compare a $5,000 gadget, in most cases, to a $50,000 gadget. The quality, now you will see it. So this is a Behringer product. This is a Midas product. It's also Midas and Behringer. They actually, I think one bought the other one, so they are pretty similar. This also is usually in the range of this. The only difference this one has over this is this one can take in more input. This one has more processing power. You know, we'll get to processing, and I'll show us as well. So this is M32. For those that are watching us online, this is what you are missing for not coming on site. Now, this is the Yoga Patapata of demo. This is the sentimental one. This is the X32. So if you look at X32 and M32, they look the same thing, the same way. The software, the operating system is the same. So if you are very good on this, you are definitely very good on this as well. They are actually exactly the same. This one just looks finer, like in terms of the external design, because it's Midas. So this is Behringer X32. Now this is one of the first Yamaha digital mix, I think, in the first generation of digital mixing. The reason why many people will take this, many professional sound engineers will take this over this and that, is the preamp. We'll show you. Now, the preamp has a very strong connection with what we call the gain. This is the gain. Now, in every mixer, one of the first things you come in contact with on each channel is the gain. I will explain that. Some people use the word preamp, so they can use them interchangeably. Although, intrinsically, if you go deep, they are not exactly the same, but they are so interconnected that you can use them interchangeably. We'll get there. So this preamp, this one has a very good preamp. We use this for the same thing with this. This is also a Yamaha board. This is M7. In fact, I think they both have almost the same preamp. Now Yamaha has some very high-end mixer now, like CL series. In fact, I think all of them have similar preamp. They are very solid. They are clean. It's hard for you to get noise from the preamp because electronics. we have what we call electronic noise. So one of the things that their preamp is really, really good. So if you want to give me this and give me that, I will have to weigh my options on what am I looking for in terms of mixing. What is more priority to me, right? For the Behringer Wing, one of the things they did that killed it, that like beat every other mixer in that range, price range, is that mixer has a processing power that there is no mixer that, and the processing power comes free. It comes together with the board. So I will show you what that means. This is essentially, it has the basic processing, but the quality of the sound you're going to get out of this board is a little bit better than those ones. And one of the major reasons is the preamp. The other reason is the components they used to now make the mixer. They are a little bit, even though it's old, this is an old mixer, but you know all those old money, what they call it, is very solid. Now this is an analog board. It's one of the best in its days. It's Allen and Heath. What we're talking about, gain. So now this gives us good pictorial representation of each channel because the buttons are separate here. But in a digital board, it's the same button that you use for each channel. What differs is that you have to select the channel you are working with, and you do whatever tuning you want to do. If you want to work on another channel, you have to select it. Can you see the difference? But for an analog, if I set this one like this, it remains the same. I don't need to select. Every channel has its own control. But in a digital board, it's the same control that you have for all the channels. You just have to make sure you select the channel you are working on. This is also another digital board. This also is one of the first in its category, Presonus Studio Live. So this is a 16-channel mixer. So also, if you look at it, the first thing you see here is also the gain. Some people call it preamp, some people call it gain. So it's the first thing because, and the reason why it's the first thing is that, let me just quickly introduce at least three levels of signal that we have. If you understand these three levels, it will help us. What time is it? Is it time for break? No. Because many people are looking tired. That's why I'm looking at time. Can we still go on? A little bit of break. Okay, let's probably take 5 minutes before we now come back to, because I noticed that a number of people are tired. So let's take water break, 5 minutes, and then we come back. Does that work? Yeah. Because there's a lot of information that you have a question?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe when you are done with this one.
I'm just introducing them. So the gain. Now, this one is also very similar to those ones. You have to select the channel you are working with. Do you understand? You have to select each channel that, okay, this is the channel I want to work. You select it, and then you do whatever you want to do. But generally speaking, if you understand the principle, you can apply it to whichever board. So let's take 5 minutes. Okay, this one, this is this also is analog like this. You can see that each channel has almost all their control. This one is a 5-channel or 7-channel. You can actually do up to 7-channel. 5 mono, you can do 1 stereo. Yeah. So this is another mixer. So we use them for small gig, maybe like talk, like maybe 5 to 20 people. You don't need more input. You just need maybe 2 microphones. These ones are ideal. This one still has up to at least 12 channels. Yeah, there is 10 mono and a couple of stereo, 2 more stereo. So you can do up to 14 channels with this one. But this is a very solid analog board. The difference also is its preamp is also very good. So this can do up to 16, as you know, it's even smaller than this. So sometimes it's not how big. In fact, there are some mixers now that are like, everything is like touch screen. Like, this thing is touch screen. The screen also is touch screen. Like, so let's take 5-minute break. We'll come back by 1:30, Water break. There's a question online. We'll come back to the question once we are back. Okay. Can you mute live stream? Mute the live stream and then put a high. Great. Alpha. One more, Abby.
Yes.
Uh,
So we're good with these ones, but I want to be able to see this.
Check, check. Yep, we're back. All right. We ended up spending 7 minutes break. Okay, that's okay. Because I noticed a number of us are getting tired. So, okay, let's come together. Let's come together. And all right. So we have a couple of questions from someone was asking. Definitely, this person knows something about sound. Asking about the need for crossover. What are the use of channel in a mixer? What is the use of monitor, mono, and stereo in a mixer? Okay, we'll attend to those questions right away. Now, the person that's asking the question obviously know what a crossover does. Now, what's a crossover? Let's quickly use that one to explain. We did something here that is a form of crossover, so it will help us to answer that question. Okay. Are we together? Are we together? Okay. Now, what's a crossover? How do I start? There's probably a lot to unravel, but in sound, audio, there's what we call audio spectrum. And when we talk about audio spectrum, we're talking about frequency. That is the frequency we can hear. What are frequencies? Don't let us go. Just take it as frequency. What did I say? Frequency, right? It's an English word. Something is frequent, but I don't want to go into technical, but I will show us here. We can all come and see this. This is a typical equalizer. It's a graph, or yeah. This is a semi-log graph. That is, this x-axis is logarithmic. For those of us that still remember our mathematics, you see that it's not equal. Like the calibration is not equal. That makes it a logarithm. This one is equal. This is amplitude. Yeah, we should come out and it's affecting the same way we come out light on. It's terrible. Thank you. Okay. Now, if you look at this x-axis, you can see 20 to 20K. That's 20 to 20,000. That's audio spectrum. That's, in an ideal case, that is what human ear can perceive. Even though, if I play 20 hertz now, okay, if I play 20 hertz for you, one here, we start perceiving from around 30, 35, 40 hertz. That's when you start perceiving. We might actually do that test before we go. We still have some time. I'll play each frequency for you. They are actually online. You can Google them and play it and perceive how each frequency sounds. So that's the audio spectrum, 20 to 20K, 20 to 20,000 hertz. Hertz is like the unit of frequency. Now, we're trying to answer the crossover question. The beautiful thing about digital board is you can do your crossover from the board. What that means is that you don't need another gadget called a crossover to do your crossover. Although in this church we have a speaker management system. Speaker management system also has a crossover in them. But, I mean, there's harm in doing some cascading processing. The reason why I prefer cascading processing is cascading means using multiple processing, doing almost exactly the same thing. That's what I mean by cascading. That is, we do processing here, we also do processing on the speaker management. What that means is that whatever this one doesn't catch, the other one will catch. What's that scripture? Whatever Jehu, is it Jehu? That if somebody miss something, the other person will. I can't remember that scripture, but I know it's in the Bible. So that's what I mean by cascading processing. We use that a lot in compression. If you have 3 compressors and you decide to use one and do heavy compression, the quality of sound you get is going to be different if you use the 3 compressors and you use them slightly. You have better dynamics that way than just using one compressor and compressing heavily. What's your name, my dear? Come now. Come to the front so that you can see. I'm not sure you can see anything there. So we are dealing with crossover. So the question is, I want to see that question again. There is a lot to explain to answer that question. That's why I'm taking. You say, is there a need for a crossover with a digital board when a digital board is being used? Not necessarily. There is no, because what a crossover will do, you can do it from the board. I think that's the simple answer. So that's what I just wanted to show us. And what's the crossover? A crossover helps us to separate the bands of frequencies and to amplify them separately. And I will explain that. We have different types of speakers. We have, some people call them full range or top speakers. Those are the ones that are on top. In some cases, you see people hanging them. In some cases, you see people putting them on a pole. In some cases, you see people putting them on another speaker. And we have subwoofers. Those are usually, sometimes they fly subwoofers too, but conventionally, they're usually on the floor. The subwoofers, what they do is, they amplify the low frequency. And the top speakers, they amplify the mid, range, and the high frequencies because they have high frequency capabilities. So what crossover does is that crossover will now separate, like we will separate the low frequency and we send them to the sub so that the sub can focus on them and amplify them. And then the mid-range and the high will send them to the top. That's a two-way system. That is just low and high. In some cases, we have three-way system that we now separate them into 3 bands, low, mid, and high. So we send low signal to the sub, we send mid signal to the mid speaker. You have speakers that are designed that they can only take mid frequency, a particular frequency range. And we have some that will drive the highs. So that's a 3-way system. So that means you're now pushing 3 bands of frequency separately. Now, with a digital board, we can do that. And that's what we just did. If you look at this label, you see it's sub. And you see the equalization that is done. So we cut from 25 hertz, and the top one is 120. So our crossover point is 120 hertz. That means what we did here is that anything between 25 and 120, that's the only signal that will pass through. And we route this signal to go to the sub. So we will play something now. Clifford, can we play a music from the, just give me music that is, because we're on YouTube, we don't want copyright infringement, but this is for educational purposes. So, Dubim, are these speakers on? Turn them on, increase the volume, and give me like 2 chairs to put them on. I just wanted to show us something. Or we can use the house system to do it. They will just have to control it from here, from up there. But what we did here is we copied what is on that mixer, the setting, every channel, we copy it here. And we did something very interesting. You see, these 4 mixers, the mixer on top, this one, this one, this one, they are all sharing the same signal. They are all connected together. And I can, after we are done with this question, I will explain what we did. So, I mean, I think I've answered the question that you don't necessarily need another crossover point. And that's the advantage of digital board. In those days when we were using analog board, you need more component, like more, if you guys have noticed, if you are familiar with, for those of us that are familiar with sound, you will notice when you go to a show or an event, you see another rack with a lot of equipment. You see graphic equalizer, compressors, effect. We call them out of board processing. That is, they are not in the board, so you have to process them from outside. But because we have digital processor, mixer now, all the processing you need for channel, they are already here. So each channel, you can see on each channel, we have the input. This is the beginning. We have EQ here already. We have different type of compression here. That is what I was talking about when I was saying this board has a stronger or more processing power than this. Look at all the things they put there. It's just amazing. In some other boards, you have to buy them. You have to spend extra money to buy, to install them in it. But for this mixer, they came with it. So for the price point, the mixer is around 5,000 US dollar. No, 3,500 US dollar. That's about 5,500 Canadian dollar or 6,000, because it's becoming scarce now. Averagely, is 6,000 Canadian dollar now. There is no mixer in that price point that has the processing capability that this mixer has. There is none. The ones that has the same capability, they are more expensive. They are probably 2,000, 3,000 more expensive than this. So I think I've answered that person's question. So you can do that. We were able to do that here, and when we start practical question, we will do that. So what's the use of mono and stereo in a mixer? Yeah, that's a very important question. First of all, what is mono? What is stereo? Mono is one channel. Stereo is two channels, or two mono channels that are working together. Now, in nature, God created us as stereo being. That's why we have two ears. So, and what stereo means, let me just use an example that I believe many of us will be conversant with. Has anybody listening to your headphone, like you are listening to a music, and you can only hear guitar on one ear, you can't hear on the other ear? What they did there is what we call panning. This is panning. Pan here. Now, this is the lapel mic. The lapel mic I'm using is connected to that mixer, but I'm getting it also here. I'm also getting it also there. And I'm getting it also there. I can show us. How am I able to do that? That's called routing. That is, I'm able to connect that mixer to this one using just one cable, Cat5 cable. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because the people that designed this mixer probably designed that mixer, they designed this one, they use the same communication protocol. So they can work together. So in this case, I can use that as my front of house. I can use this as my broadcast mix. I can use this as my monitor mix. The same signal, all of them are taken in. Do you understand? So what that means is that I can do something totally different from what is there. In as much as we have, all of us have the same channel in, I can do processing separately, different from what they will hear in the house for live stream. What that gives me is it gives us that flexibility. So we are not constrained. Now this one, we can install it in a room, small room. In fact, it might be downstairs. It might be anywhere isolated from the house. And we just put two monitors here like this so that we can monitor what we are mixing, which I just wanted to display. Let the speaker face us. The playback is ready. Okay. I'm not sure it's coming here. Okay, let's stop. Let's pause it a little bit. I want to make sure it comes here. What channel is it over there? Clifford. Okay, that's okay. It's local 8, so you have to route it the same way we route the lapel. You know the lapel was on local 1. So just route it into output, into maybe anything from 25 to 32, so that we can get it on the four mixers. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to send the music is playing, it's coming in the house, but want to route it in a way that it will also come here, and it will also come onto the other mixer. That is routing. We'll hopefully get there today, but if we can't get there, at least I want us to get something that. So we are trying to explain what mono and stereo is in a mixer. Now the good thing, another good thing about this board is that you can do stereo mixing easily here. That is, you can see each channel. This channel 1. So this channel 1, I said what is coming from A1, right? So I have a switch here that says either mono or stereo. So I can make this channel either mono or stereo. For example, this montage is a stereo equipment. Usually, when we are patching keyboard, we like to patch it stereo because keyboards are stereo equipment. So if you look at the back of this keyboard, you see left and right. Because you get the fullness of that, you optimize the keyboard by patching it stereo. If you patch it mono, it will still work, it will still sound fine, but you're not going to optimize it if you don't patch it in stereo. That's why most times we patch keyboard stereo. In some cases we patch guitar stereo too, but most times if we have multiple guitars, like electric guitar, we can go away with mono because we can easily pan them around. We'll get to panning at some point. Are you able to do that? How far? Okay, let me know when it's ready. So I hope we are able to answer the person's question. Someone also is asking for link. Just give me a minute. Okay. Mono stereo. What other question? Clifford, what other question? What's the use of channel in a mixer? What are the use of channel in a mixer? Okay. What's the purpose of gain and preamp? Okay, I was going to explain that. Let me start with gain and preamp. Before we go on break, I was entering into a topic, 3 levels of signals, right? How many of us remember? Now, there are essentially 3. Some will argue there are 4, but I think generally most sound engineer works with 3. And what are the levels? We have the microphone level, the mic level, we have the line level, and we have the speaker level. Now, if you understand these 3 levels of signal, it's going to help, especially when you are connecting equipment together. Because some equipment can only take in line level, while some equipment can take either line or mic, but they will have a switch that you'll be able to switch that, okay, the signal I'm inputting into this device is a mic level, or the signal I'm inputting into this device is a line level. Now, what is mic? What is line? What is speaker? A microphone level, that's the lowest level. That's the level you get from your mic. Now, if I connect this microphone that I'm using directly to the speaker, you won't hear anything. Why? Because the level is so small that the speaker cannot even detect it. Do you understand? So it has to go through at least 2 stages of amplification. So, my mic level is the level that comes from the microphone. So anything that uses microphone and goes into the mixer, it is the mic level. Now that is where the preamp and gain comes in. So what a gain does is that, or what a preamp does, it's called preamplifier. So the preamp brings the level from mic level to line level. So typically, mic levels are about 3, 5, 10 microvolts. Microvolts is 1/1000 volts. So you can see that it's very small. But line level is 1 volt. So if you take 10 millivolts and you amplify it to 1 volt, that means you amplify it 100 times. Does the math make sense? So that means so the preamp has boosted it. So that is why preamps are very important in mixer, because when you are amplifying a signal, if that signal has a noise, you're amplifying the noise also. So there is what we call CMMRR, I think, common mode rejection ratio. Sorry, that's a technical term. Good preamp has good common mode rejection. What that means is that they can discriminate between true signal and noise. So a good preamp will be able to not amplify the noise, but amplify the signal. So that's why one of the things that determine the quality of a digital board is the preamp. So you see, I've used the preamp to explain the difference between the mic level and the line level. Now, your line level is what your mixer works with. So the signal coming through the mixer is the line level. If you have an outboard processor, they work with line level. So what changes line level to speaker level is your amplifier. What that means is that if you connect your line level directly to your speaker, you won't hear much. You just be sounding as if it's in some places it might not even come out. So, but there is something attached to speaker now. That now brings us to different types of speaker. We have passive speakers and we have active speakers. All these speakers are active because what makes them active is that they have amplifier already embedded in them. So as we send line level to them, the amplifiers in them amplifies them and then send them to the speaker cones, and then you can hear me loudly. So, okay, 32. Okay, it's coming. I think it's coming through, but it's coming. Did someone pan it? Check if it is pan. It's only coming as a mono signal. Now, come and see. Yeah. You see that my microphone is coming as a full stereo signal, but this one that they are sending to me from 32 is just coming from one side. So if I open it up now, let's say I connect this mixer to the speaker, you only hear it on one side. You won't hear it on another side. So let me check it if it's pan. It's not pan. So why is it now coming through? Okay, I know the reason why. The reason is that 31 and 32 is made a stereo here. So because we have told this channel that you are stereo, and the signal that is coming is mono, so it automatically push it onto one side. So once I change this to stereo, to mono, you see that it's now 2 now. Do you understand? Okay, so these speakers, let me route my output, local output, to my main one. Okay, yeah, I should have something now. I thought they said these things are on. It doesn't look like this is on. My system tech, there's no power here. I don't think I have power here. No, there's no power here, right? Can you take that and reconnect it to where there is power? Where is my system tech? System tech, Jubim. This is an on. No, off and on for this one. This one is at the back. It's usually at the back. This thing is, let me mute it so that it doesn't make noise. I don't think there is power there because these guys are not on. Now I think they came on now. So, yep. So I have sound now. So you see what we just did now is that they're playing there. It can come out in the live, but if we set this one up for broadcast, we can control what goes on live. So we have more flexibility, we have more control. In fact, what you are doing as a live sound, whether you're a monitor guy, broadcast, or FOH, you are controlled. That's why you have power. You have a lot of power too. So don't abuse the power. so we have sound here. Good. What I just did to make sound to come out is what we call routing. That is, they sent the signal to me. Okay, I figured out, okay, this is where the sound is coming from. Okay, why something is wrong. You see, I did a little bit of troubleshooting. That, okay, this signal is only coming from one side. It's supposed to be two, right? Knowledge that, no, something is wrong here. So I figured it out, okay, this channel is called a stereo. You see? But it's supposed to be mono. Because it's mono signal they are sending to me. So if I make this channel stereo, that means I'm only going to get half of what is coming in. But I have to make it mono itself so that they will match. So mono, that's where I have the full sound. And then in the output, the person I have to connect, my system tech, we call them system tech. If you connect cables together, making sure that's why if I'm going for an event and I'm the mixing guy, I don't have business in connecting cables. I'll just go there, collect the rider, collect the specification, everything, and I trust that every other person has done their job properly. I'll just go on the mixer, start doing all the things I need to do because I'm trusting that whatever I'm sending out is coming out good. So we have sound like that. We were trying to answer, I think we answered all the questions, right? Did we? Okay, just give me a moment. Let me just see. Yeah, someone has given me the scripture. 1 Kings 19:7. Escape the sword of Isaiah Jerusalem. Yeah, so we're talking about cascading. Thank you, Olajide Emmanuel. That's good. Okay, Mono. We've talked about preamp too. So your questions are get a microphone so that the people online can hear you. And then we go back to our slide. The slide is just for us to guide us. This is really the real deal, right? Are we tired?
It's more of a main layman kind of question. Mm-hmm. So with the mono versus the stereo, so then in terms of quality of sound, does it mean then that the mono just has this jumbled up sound while the stereo would have more distinctive sounds in terms of the quality that is coming out?
In terms of quality, not necessarily. In terms of level, a stereo signal is definitely going to sound louder than a mono signal. Like you are combining two signals. And the mathematics in sound is 0 plus 0 in sound is 3. Because we are talking logarithmic scale. Do you understand? 0 plus 0 in sound, because 0 is log 1 base 10. Mathematics, how many of us remember? So if you do log 1 base 10 plus log 1 base 10, log plus is multiplication, right? Right? Log 1 base 10, log 1 base 10, that will become log 2 base 10, right? Log 2 is 0.3 something something. So you multiply it by 10, it gives you 3. So if I have a mono, 0, fine. If I have a stereo, I can get 3. So not necessarily in terms of the quality, but in terms of the level. So that's why I said it's full up. And the reason why God gives us 2 ears is because things occur in nature by stereo. Nature itself is stereo in nature. That's why I believe we have 2 ears. Because if things are mono in nature, God will have just given us 1 ear. There's no time to go into that, so I don't want to confuse us anyway too much. But any other question? Do we have any other question on Slido? Okay, I believe we've attempted all the questions, and we've been able to deal with preamp, gain. Now let's see it in real life. Now something very important. There is analog gain and there is digital gain, and this is what I mean. Where the signal is coming from the top, if you go and check that mixer, you will see 2 things here. It's also here, but it doesn't have any usefulness. Let me see. if my theory is right. Yeah. You see that this gain doesn't control. Because the beautiful thing about this mixer also is this mixer has 2 levels of gain, like 2 different kind of gains. And it has both the normal gain, which is analog, and it has digital gain, which is trim. Now, I'm going to show us some things here to just explain that. What is the difference between analog? You see that the analog gain is not having effect on this board. Why? Number one, because that's our, like a master. The one up there that takes in is the master. So we've locked in the gain, analog gain. But the good thing about this mixer now is it also has a digital gain called trim. So if you want to increase this guy now, this one doesn't control it, but this one controls it. Because the signal has become digital. So it's only the digital gain that is now working now, which is called a trim. That's the reason why analog is not working. But analog will work there because that's the master. There are a lot of things that we can explain about that too, but that's just the simple form of that explanation. Is the sound, the music going live? You muted it on live stream. Excellent. That's perfect. Great. That's why you need the right people on your team. Yeah.
Since we're talking about types of gains,
yes.
I wanted to know what the difference is between gain and gain reduction.
Okay. Good question. Gain and gain reduction. Because he has been doing a lot of sound work, he has come across gain reduction. Where do we see gain reduction? Come and see. Here we see peak reduction here in a compression. You talk about gain reduction generally when you are dealing with a compressor. And you just jump, but we'll explain it, sure. I'm sure there are other people that knows a little bit about that. One of the things that the compressor does is it tries as much as possible to maintain a relatively consistent level across your music. So while doing that, your compressor might reduce your level. Let me show us. Let's do this. Let me bring this one down. Come and see something here. Because I increase the peak reduction here, the signal is reducing. What that means is that the signal that is coming in is not exactly the one that goes out because we've reduced minus 3 dB out of it. So this is gain reduction. What we are saying is that when we get to compressor, hopefully we are able to get there today. One of the things compressor does is it compresses. Compressor has a number of components. One of the components is threshold. So when you set a threshold to a particular level, any signal that is above that threshold, it compresses it. And one of the ways, the way it compresses is that it reduces the level. That's what is gain reduction. So that's what you are seeing here. Can you see the red? Yeah? The LA, the red part. You see that something is coming down and it coincides with this. It's telling you that the threshold we set, the signal is passing it. So the compressor kicks in and
So it's how much is reducing.
so this is showing us how much of it that is being reduced. So that's this one they use peak reduction, but it's also gain reduction. So gain reduction comes into play when you are compressing, when you employ a compressor. people are really getting tired. Okay, because I'm sure the people online, maybe they are watching in the comfort of their house. Okay, someone is asking for a case of monitor mix. We'll hopefully get there too. So now let's look at least we've looked at gain now, right? Both digital gain and analog gain. Some people call the analog gain preamplifier to boost this thing. Now, let me also quickly introduce another very important concept. You see, there are a lot of things to talk about. I'm just remembering them. They are not necessarily in the slide. Now, when you're doing sound check, what you are doing primarily, essentially, that is important is you are doing gain structure. You are structuring the gain. Because during your event, the ideal thing is not to be touching the gain because it's already set. That's why when you are sound checking someone that sings, you ask them, sing the loudest you are going to go. Give me your loudest volume so that I can set the gain. If someone is playing the drums, give me your loudest punch on your kick so that I can set the gain to make sure that even if you want to go wild, right, you are not going to clip. Because come and see the clipping here. The clip point here is 0. In digital world, by the time you hit 0, you are clipping. And by the time you are clipping, the sound is not pleasant. The second thing is that you can also damage speakers. Because by the time you are clipping, what's supposed to be a normal sine wave, sinusoidal wave, is now clipping. It has become a square wave. And square wave will damage your high frequency quickly. In fact, one of my friends was telling me, like last 2 weeks, they provided sound for a program, a very popular program in Lagos. He didn't mix, he just provided equipment because there are settings like that you provide equipment, you set it up, someone will come to mix. So the mixing guy decided to bypass the speaker management system and run the system like that. All the main PA high frequency was damaged. All of them. Now that is bad. That's not even a good thing for the mixing guy. Because it just shows that it's either he doesn't know what he's doing or some form of technical error. So, you can, and this guy had to spend millions of naira, not dollars now, to replace those things. It is what it is. So, when you make a mistake as a sound engineer, you can also cost your employer or employee, your employer money. You can cost the church money too. So, any other questions so far? Where are the other people? The journey is getting tougher. People are jetting out. It's okay.
You said there are 3 levels of what again?
Signals.
Signals, okay.
Yeah. I mean, who can remember? Mic, line, and speaker. Yes, yeah. So, what we're dealing with on the mixer is the line level. So, we've done gain, right? Gain. So, we understand what gain does, right? So, if we go to this other mixer here, we'll now see that, you see all the, where is this? So, check. This is my mic. This is the music that is playing. They put it on 32. It's coming here. I'm sure it will also come also here too. Yeah. So all these mixers that are connected to that guy, they have the same analog gain, right? But they now have their own digital gain trim that if you need to boost any of them, you still have that this thing to boost. You see, as I'm increasing, you see this thing. Now this is clipping now. Once you hit red, that's clipping. That's clipping. Now I did a setting here that if you touch this fader, it selects the channel automatically. There's a setting like that we did. So let's bring down the trim to 0. Unity gain. Yep. So that's gain for you. It's a little bit, it's easier to see graphically here than probably that. If you are not used to that, you can see the input. You can see the signal chain here. So from the input here, it goes to your gate, it goes to your EQ, it goes to your dynamic, which is your compressor. It goes to your output. Yep. And then if you look at this, that's the way the signal is going. And in terms of routing, this is bus send. Don't let me get too excited and confuse people. But you can see the gain. We've dealt with the gain now. Now, another part that you see in the input part of the mixer is called HPF, high pass filter, or low cut. Remember when we were trying to answer the crossover question, we talked about bands of frequency, right? low, mid, high, right? Some people have tried to put figure into those bands, but I mean, it just come by practice that you just know that, okay, this is low, this is high. Low is typically anything below 100, 120 downwards. They are categorized as low frequency. Anything between 120 and probably 1K, mid, and anything 1K and above, high. It varies with different people, but you just get the idea. So we have the gain. Now this is the button that controls the gain as well. You can control it from here. You can control it from here. This is the gain, this is the trim. Now, after this gain, you have this low cut. Some mixer call it high pass filter. I don't know what that mixer calls it, but this too calls it low cut. I can show us what it is on this other mixer. Oh, this one is off. Okay, let's go to this one. So you can see, this is, HA is another word for gain. We call it head amp. So, because we don't have any signal coming into this one, so this is the gain. You can see after this gain, this one has pan. This is HPF, high pass filter. You can see now what high pass filter does is, it's also very important. It helps you to clean up the mix. Now, there are some things, when you're mixing, what you're doing majorly is you're taking out what is not good. You know, I said something that what you're trying to do is you're trying to make what is good to sound better, and what is better to sound best, right? So let's assume that you are fortunate enough to have good musicians that will give you good input, right? Good to work with. Have you not noticed that the same setup, a band will come, they will play, people will not like them because they are playing crap. And another band will come and people will say, these people sound good. Many times we blame the sound engineer as if the sound engineer, but the truth is, it's what is coming in, right? So, let's go in that direction again. So we're dealing with high pass filter. High pass filter is like what you use to clean up the low-end troubles. For example, if you go up stage and listen and you see the EQ of this mic, you will see that the high pass filter was engaged and it was filtered out. Because if it was not filtered out, you'll be hearing, my breath will be more pronounced because my breath is more low. You hear it more. But I've used high pass filter to clean up that place. So you use high pass filter it's very, very important. In fact, if you have good system that is tuned, you don't even need to see just the small EQ that is done here. You don't need to do crazy EQ, and you just put an high pass filter and probably maybe just a small band pass or notch filter, and you are good. Because number one, the source is good already. So you are not doing too much processing. And one of the advantages of that is you now have relatively natural sound. Because you're not doing a lot of tone, you're not affecting the tone of the sound that is coming in too much. So I'm just showing us across board. In the analog board, this is one of the limitations of analog. This also has high pass filter. But the difference is, let me go a little bit more technical, and I hope we are able to get it, especially for the benefit of those that are also listening. When we talk about filters has 3 parameters that we can alter. 3, what did I say? 3 parameters. You notice that most things in sound, 3. You know, God the Father, God the Son. That's a joke. So most filters have 3 parameters. Some have 2. Some have only 1. But majority filters, there are 3 parameters that can define a filter. One of them is the gain. Another word for gain in layman term, when I talk about gain, most time what I'm talking about is level or volume. Does that make sense? That's most times. Yeah, if you say increase, give me more gain, that means more volume. So there is gain, there is frequency, and there is Q. You see that Q, many people call it, Buchi is not here, he has gone. He's an electrical engineer, he would have Q. Yeah, I'm actually talking about, now that I'm talking about filter, I'm talking about equalizer, but I don't want to introduce that word yet. Q is like bandwidth, yeah. But it's not, technically it's not bandwidth, but we can use the word bandwidth. If anybody doing electrical here or done electrical, have you done filter design? Yeah. Analog, I think analog system, circuitry, all those things. It's been a long time. Now, it's Q. I don't have marker. I would have loved to draw what that means. So we have gain, we have frequency, we have Q, or bandwidth. Now, some filters, they only have, what you can only adjust there is frequency. That's this type of high-pass filter. The only thing you can adjust is frequency. Let's go into a digital board, and then you will be able to appreciate it more graphically. And I will show us, I think we can use any of the it's easier here to explain than there. Now, let's say we are dealing with this channel, and this is the EQ. See, the EQ is flat. So if I engage low cut, which is the same thing as high pass filter, what it means, low cut means you are cutting out low. High pass means you are allowing high to go. So if you are cutting low, what are you doing? Allowing high to pass. So that's why they are the same thing, either low cut or high pass. So some mixer will call it low cut. You see that mixer call it high pass. In fact, some people have a theory that one of the way you know a more professional mixer is they use high pass filter. The ones that are still trusting the Lord, they use low cut. I mean, this is a very good mixer. I'm just saying that even a very good mixer has senior brothers. That's the truth. There are mixers that are about 100,000 grand, 150,000 grand, just one mixer. So once I engage these, can you see that? Now I only have one parameter here, which is the frequencies. I can only move within frequency. So this is a filter also, but it's a high pass. Now there is also another filter that is, this is low cut. There is also high cut. I can get high cut here. And you see when I shift this mode from here, you can see the three parameters. This is actually what the parameters for the filter. You have the gain, frequency. This width is the same as Q, or bandwidth. I will show us now. Okay. Now, so once I switch the mode, these two, they have the three parameters. Once I switch this mode, it only has two. So this is a shelf. It has only frequency and gain. You'll see how it looks. I was just talking about pass now. So you see when we move to high cut, this is low cut, this high cut, it has one parameter, frequency. Can you see? Yeah, that's why we're trying to show the people that are at home. If you can see, you can follow us. So that's that, right? As we use low cut to clear the low end, there are some instruments that you want to also clear their high end. You can use high cut to do that. Now, if we switch this now, this is a parametric EQ. Parametric EQ and VEQ, I can't remember what this V means. They are almost exactly the same thing. The only difference is that I think one has a wider Q and one has a narrower width, right? So this parametric, you see that it's the three parameters that are initiated. So you have the frequency is moving, you have the gain, and you can widen it or narrow it. So that's the width. Can you see? Now there are places where you need to widen, there are places where you need to narrow. If there is a particular frequency that is causing feedback and I want to take it out, we call this a notch filter. You just take that and you cut it. So that's what you use EQ to do. You use it to cut or boost particular frequency that you want. But most professional sound engineers, you see them cutting more than boosting. Because in a like this situation, your input is good, right? So you really don't have much to add to it. Rather, you have more to take away, to make it sound really good. So that's the a second type of filter. The third one, which is shelf, only has two: gain and frequency. So can you now see the difference now? Gain and frequency. Where's my phone? Do we have any question? Any questions so far? Okay, yep, go ahead. Get the microphone so that people... Monitoring.
Okay, so the first thing is, I think the idea of what feedback is to me is different from what it is to you. So when you keep using the word feedback. Is that noise?
When you are talking now, can you hear that? That is trying to come up?
That's noise, yeah.
That's the feedback.
Okay, so
now,
because the feedback I know is you receive it from
the feedback, yes.
Like just normal plane.
It's the same principle, but you see when we turn it on, you didn't hear that. Do you know why you are hearing the feedback? Number one, we are in front of the PA. Right? If we want to reduce this feedback, Clifford, can we bring down the blue microphone in the house? So this mic, because it's a bit loud and we are standing in front of the speaker, two things we can do to take out that feedback is reduce the volume or look for the frequency that is feeding back on the channel and just take it out, cut it a little. You see that when it reduces the gain, the feedback reduces. It's still there, but you need to listen to be able to hear that feedback. Now, something is going on as I'm using these two microphones. There is some cancellation that is going on. You see that it's different. Did you mute my microphone? Okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, check. If you listen very well, you notice some cancellation is going on. If I talk alone, this is loud. If I talk like this, can you hear the difference? It's not as loud. You would think it should be louder, right? You know, I said when you combine two together. Now, what is going on is this. It's physics. If you have two signals that are the same amplitude, and they have the same time, they are going at the same time, if you add them together, they will cancel out. You don't understand what I mean? I have to, these microphones are almost the same distance to my mouth. So that means that the source that is coming into them is equal. So some frequencies will cancel out. It won't be as loud, but if one of them are now on the mixer, I change the polarity. That is, one is traveling, one is going up like this, another is going down like this. When they come together, they will add together. They will become louder. One of the applications of what I just explained is when we have mic in, kick in and kick out. Sometimes we use two microphones to mic the kick drum. We'll put one inside and we'll put one outside. And because they are taking the same source, most times some frequency will cancel out. Is this microphone going out or is turning? Okay. So that's a digression, sorry. But
I noticed here there's two gains, so I just wanted to know.
This one has only one. It's this one that has two gains.
I can see gain here and see.
Oh, okay.
So and I know that.
If you remember when I was trying to explain filters, I said filter has three parameters: the gain, the frequency, and the width or Q or bandwidth. So this is just for the EQ. This is different from this gain. This gain, that's why some people call this preamp. Just to differentiate. But I've said it generally, when you hear gain, what we are talking about is level, volume, essentially. So professionally, you hear, these people refer this as preamp. But this is actually not the exact preamp. The exact preamp is in the mouth of the board. It's an electronic component, like an amplifier, So it's a preamplifier. It's as some of them have transformers, some of them has resistors, capacitors. It's an electronic component itself. You can see it physically. This is a knob that is probably attached to that preamp to control it.
Just to be sure.
Yep.
A preamp is something like a stabilizer. Just to be sure. Or something similar.
It's an electronic component. If you open this microphone, you will see electronic component there. So it's an electronic, right? Does that make sense? Like a preamp, if you can Google now and just say schematic diagram of a preamp, you will see different things there. You see probably a capacitor, resistor, a transformer, things like that, and they are connected together to make something small, and they attach it to the front of this thing. So that's the preamp. Question, okay.
So I want to go a bit old school.
We will take another break once it is 2:45. So we'll take a bit longer break.
Okay, I want to go a bit old school. So,
Okay.
And I'm going old school in the sense of the analog.
Okay, analog. Yeah.
So, when I have little understanding of this, and
Yep.
so back then it was analog we used now, and they're like, when you hear that that feedback, reduce the high, because it's probably from the high that the feedback is coming in from, or if you're not hearing, there are some preachers that will be like, increase the bass, I want to hear myself very well.
Yeah.
How does that work in relation with the
Digital.
And we're talking about the equalizer.
Okay. Now, let me just quickly piggyback on feedback and explain the concept of feedback. What actually causes feedback is this. When I speak into the microphone, it goes through the chain and comes out of the speaker, right? Now, as it's coming out of the speaker, some of the things that is coming out of the speaker, they are going back into the microphone that I'm using. Right? Now, the difference is the main signal, my speech, is higher than what is coming out and going back. You get feedback at the point when the level now becomes the same. That's where you begin to get feedback. When the level of what is coming back into this microphone, that's the feedback. And the level of the direct sound, when they match, that's where you get feedback. Now, taking it further, that's talking about level. Now, in terms of frequency, for example, in this room now, there's some frequency that the room itself amplifies them. The frequency is around this range. Because I've been mixing in this room since 2015. That's 9 years now. So I can quickly diagnose what's going on in this room. I'm familiar with the room. That's another thing that affects sound, room acoustic. We didn't talk about that. So when there is a feedback, I can quickly diagnose, I can quickly pinpoint where that problem is coming from and quickly go there, by reason of use, right? So feedback can now happen looking at two parameters, either frequency or level. You see, what did I ask him to do first with this microphone? I asked him to bring down the level. Right? When it brings down the level, that means I'm trying to cause a distinction between the direct sound and the sound that's coming from the PA. What I'm trying to do is I want to make sure my direct sound is higher than that one from the PA. That will reduce the feedback. If that doesn't completely eliminate it, that's when you now come into frequency. Do you understand that? You now begin to check. Now, if you look at this, you can see this. These things are called RTA. They are called real-time analyzer. This thing. They are showing you the strength of each frequency. So the one that is red would tell you that this is stronger. Is the one that is prone to feedback. Let's use this one. Can you see? You see the one that is, if there is going to be feedback from this thing, I'm going to cut around this place. Because they are the one that is stronger. So I'll just cut them down. This is showing me like a real-time analysis of my speech. So I know where to easily attack. For those of us that were around during crossover, I normally set up something in front of the front of house. It's called an RTA on a computer. What it does is, it's showing me the spectrum of the room. So that if there is feedback, I can go straight to the frequency that is causing that feedback and take it out. Because I'm getting that reading that, okay, this is what is causing that problem. Does that make sense? Yeah. So there are two things that might cause this. I think this microphone is going out. The battery is getting down. So 2:40, we actually go on break. Any other question before we go on break? Someone asked about monitor mix. Okay. Let's just use the 2 minutes to talk about monitor mix. Now, the peculiarity about monitor mix is that you are not mixing for your audience is limited. You're only mixing for the musician. And the peculiarity is that what you will mix for the person that is the drummer is different from the person that is the piano. Because what the piano needs to hear himself, to continue playing, is relatively different. If I'm playing the piano, I want to hear my piano. I want to hear the lead vocal. If the backups, if they are good, probably I want to hear them. If they are not good, I don't want to hear them. That's the truth. You can do without them. And then I probably want to hear the kick to maintain the tempo, and probably the bass. That's all. But our people, I said we don't want to shake table today, but let's shake. This one is usually sweeting me to shake. Our musicians, they like hearing everything. But as a musician, you don't need everything. And that's the difference between I've actually played for some of our people that when you're a sound engineer, when you converse with a musician, you'll be able to judge, oh, this person knows what he's doing. A professional musician will come and say, okay, if he's a drummer, he said, okay, as a drummer, you don't even need to have all your drums in your ear. It's not necessary. Because the purpose of monitoring for musicians is, number one, to be able to hear yourself, to be able to follow the music, or lead the music if you are the one leading the music, and to be able to play together as a team. So as a drummer, your primary one is the kick. Your kick is what is maintaining the tempo. So you probably need, in fact, some cases, if you are in a space that the stage is big and you have stage feel, you don't even need it in your head because you can feel it already on the stage. You need probably your snare, sometimes maybe a little of hi-hat, or maybe some overhead to hear the whole drums. And because, we've talked about noise also. If you have a lot of things going in your ear, you're just damaging your ear. So people do that over time, and they become partially deaf, and now they will now be complaining they can't hear themselves, even with an in-ear. And I'm like, oh my goodness. You put an in-ear in your ear, and you're still complaining you can't hear yourself. That means you're deaf. No, that's what it means. It sounds harsh, but that's the truth. Many musicians are actually partially deaf. They don't know. So that's the peculiarity with monitor word. But the good thing about monitoring also now is that we now have technology that this mixer, I can connect it to a router and bring out your phone or your iPad, and I set up an app on it and set up your mix for you so that you can control what you hear. We have it already set up in the church. That with a router, we just create a local network for you. We bring your phone as a keyboardist. We set up your in-ear, and then you download the app, and then you are able to control. So you are the one now doing your monitoring yourself.
That's the drummer or any person?
Every musician, they will come with their own device. They will have their either iPad or their phone. So we'll set up their mix for them separately. So they will be able to control what they hear. They won't control what is going on in the house or live stream. They'll just be able to control their home mix. So we have the system set up here already. So it's, number one, what it does is it takes away the burden of mixing for them from the mixing engineer. It gives the responsibility now to the musician that if you want to deaf yourself, do it. Use your hand to do it. Do you understand? And at least it shares the burden that the musician will not be looking at the person on the board that, "Oh, I can't hear myself." You have the power now. Do your control. So I hope that answers the question for the monitor. And there are also other technical details that we may not be able to go into except it comes up in question. So let's take a break, and we'll come back at 3:00, and then we'll just do 30 more minutes, and then we'll go. People are tired, I can see. I told you before we started, I can go on for the next 6 minutes. So you can mute us online. We'll be back online.
This is not even talking about like
channel. This is the source. Check, check, check. Hey, hey, hey. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Sounds a bit low, but okay. Did you bring down the general level of the house? Okay, I think that's why. Just okay. I think people can hear me though. So this is the source. You now have different groups. You have the local hen, auxiliary hen. So this is where you select those groups. Local hen are the one at the back. Auxiliary hen is at the back. AES in, AES EBU. There is a channel here. Yep, digital. This is the digital. It's a digital, like digital XLR. Yeah. So there is now AES. There's Cat5. It has 3 cat connection. So we connected from B there, we bring it to A here, you can see, and then we connected A to that one, to B here, B there, it goes to A, so we cascaded it, and then we did some routing to be able to see. So this configuration is what we use, front of house, broadcast, stage, so we can do all those things. So are we live back? Okay, welcome back to the last leg. I don't know why this microphone is shaking. I thought it was battery. It's not looking like battery, but check, check, check. Hey. Okay. I'm hoping if anyone is online, let us know if you are listening and hearing, or you can hear us loud and clear. Okay. So where is my slide? The music is still playing, right? That's interesting. Oh, check, check, check. So you see that it's coming out of here too. Yep. So I can control it as well here. Yep. I can control the level. Yep. Check, check, check. You see that feedback now? Because it's coming out of here and the level is not matching. That's why. Okay. So that's what it's playing for us. And if I'm setting this up as a live stream, I'll just put those, what's it called here? Yeah, let me take this off. Yep. Okay. So I'll just put proper studio monitor so that I can monitor what's going on live, and then yeah. So, yeah, if you look at that chain from input, preamp, ADC gain, the reason why they did this like this is because just to give us an idea of what the difference between the preamp and the gain is. But the gain electronically is connected to the preamp as a control for the preamp. Do you understand? And then ADC, in analog board, you probably don't have that ADC. But in digital board, you have that module. It's also an electronic component. It converts the analog to digital signal. So from high pass filter, we can see, wait. Check, 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 check. Am I coming out of here as well? Check, check, check. I don't want to come out of here. Okay. Check, 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 check. Yep, there's nothing should come out. Yes. Yes, check, 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 check. Something is strange because this fader is done. It's not supposed to be coming out. But anyways. Okay. Check, check. Yes. Check. Okay, I think I know what the problem is. I think I have 2 channels. Yeah, I have it coming in 2 channels. I have this same source coming also here. So I was only controlling this one. Meanwhile, there is another one that is. So check, 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 check. So I can control this one now. Check, check, check. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Check, 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 check. Yeah. So I can control this one now. I know the reason why it happened like that was, okay, I was trying to do something yesterday and I assigned one input into 2 channels. That's another beautiful thing about this board. I don't think you can do that here. So, there are other application people do that, but it's not very important. Let's go to the EQ. EQ, can everyone hear me online? Give me a feedback to know if we are good. I'm not seeing or hearing anything. You are audible, sir. Oh. So, 2 people completing. Can someone just check that online and make sure that we are good? Someone said you are audible. We can hear you. Okay, I can hear you loud and clear. Okay. Someone just mentioned that I'm not seeing or hearing anything. Okay. Now, EQ. Very important. We'll expand this to see. We use a flat EQ and a, what's it called? Let me change this one to, yeah. So, I mean, we've talked about EQ before we even talk about EQ. Because part of EQ is your high pass filter. What do we use high pass filter for?
So that
Reduce the low end, yeah, the low end. To clean up, we call it like clean up the mix. Because most inputs, they have unnecessary low end. Because, you know, this is a mixer. You're probably mixing maybe about 24 channels. And by the time you multiply all those low ends that are not necessary, it will just cloud up your mix. Your mix will not be muddy. It won't be clear, it won't be clean. Do you understand? So, by the time you've, for example, look at all the vocals, see where the high pass gets to. At least we take out 157 because they are not needed. Almost all of them, right? So, we've already taken those out. They'll put you in a good position for your overall output to sound clean. So we use that high pass, but doing that we've already started doing EQing because the low high pass is also part of the EQ component. You can see. So, and I've explained the other type of EQ, like this one. This one is a parametric EQ. It has all the 3 parameters. So, something like this. This is Q. You can see Q. Higher value is narrow, and the lowest value is wide. And then frequency, you move around. Now, I'm trying to see. We didn't initiate RTA. Okay. Let's see. RTA decay, RTA source. Let's put it in pre and see if it's going to come on. Check. RTA is not coming up here, but I think we have it. We have it there. You know what RTA is? Real-time analyzer, the one that shows up. It's very helpful when you are EQing. What are you doing when you are EQing? Essentially, is you are removing unwanted frequency, like something that won't make it sound good. So if you come and look at the drum kick EQ, you see that was a little bit crazy, right? You need this craziness majorly because of a couple of reasons. Number one, either the drum is not tuned properly, or the tone you are looking for, because we just boost a little bit of, this is a little bit of 60 hertz. The punchiness, the body of the kick is around 50, 60 hertz.
Would you bypass the HBF for like low end equipment?
It's there, see.
If you bypass it, like would you,
so
when you get the signal, will you have to also go through
that's the chain. That's the chain. So it's either you activate it, use it, or not. If there's no need to use it, you might decide not to use it. But if you can see, we did high pass up to around 50 hertz here. Because it depends on the type or the quality of the drum as well. These are all the things that add up. The type or the quality of the drum head itself. How the drum is tuned. Do you understand? The microphone placement. Is the is the drum open hand at the back, or is it closed? Does it have hole? You know, all those things, those little details, they contribute to what you're going to hear. Now, many people boost this around this, what's the frequency? Around this 1 to 4K to have that bite in the kick. When you hear the kick, you hear that like a little bit of tar or something. That bite, they just add it to it because naturally the kick won't have that. Do you understand? So it makes it helps it cut through in the mix. So it doesn't get lost in the mix. So you can, when you hear it, you know that, okay, I'm hearing the kick. The same thing with bass, sometimes, depending on the type of bass. Another thing about bass guitar is the longevity, or what's the English of your string. If your string is long, you might be missing out on those bites or those high frequency. You might need to change. So some of those small things. But when you are mixing, essentially, you are taking out what is not needed. In some cases, you are adding. So that's what we did here. But if you look at the other, you see that, okay, this is a snare too. Depending on the type of the snare, there's big body snare. They naturally have more bass than the slimmer one, the tinier one. You know, that's why you need to know the equipment you are mixing. You need to know how should it sound. How does it sound naturally? And you have a template. You have a template in your mind of how you want it to sound. You know, when you are mixing, that's why you need to get exposed to good mixed music, because that creates a template in your mind. You know, without a vision, the people perish. So if you don't have a template of what you want to mix in your mind, you just be mixing. You don't even know if you are getting the result you want or not. So you need that template in your mind that, okay, today or this gig, this is how I want the band to sound. You have it already in your mind, and then you walk towards that. So that if you are not achieving that, you know that, okay, you still have some work to do during sound check and things like that. And thank God for the mixers like this. You have what we call virtual sound check too. This board has a card behind it. You can put SD card slot, and you can record all your channel separately on it. So when you do sound check and you still feel like you are not satisfied with what you are getting, when the band goes, you can stay back, spend another 1 hour to now fine-tune all the mix, because you've already recorded your session. And then when they come the following day, they fire on. Or when they come a couple of hours, they fire on. So that's essentially it. We've actually talked about EQ. So you have different filters that you can use to boost or to cut. How do you know what to boost? How do you know what to cut? I don't know if I have a multi-track session recorded, but Dubem, where is Dubem? Michael, please help me with my backpack upstairs. Yeah, I might have something for us actually that is going to help us, because the card is here, and I think I did a recording session sometimes ago. We just slot it in, and what we'll just do we just make sure we have our alternate input here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. This is what I'm looking for. Sorry, just give me a minute. I have some flash drives here. I don't know which one. I'm hoping that I have the this is 2 gig. Oh. Is this all I have? I'm hoping it's one of these. Sure. Please, someone should help me put back this, and let's see which one is. So I slotted the card. Let's see. Okay, yeah. I have something there. Yep. I think probably Regina March for Jesus. We hear something today. Well, it's good. What we're going to hear might not go live. I actually didn't plan this, but let's see. So the people online might not hear the direct sound. Let me try it again. And let's see. So, yes, this one more. Okay. What I first need to do is I need to come to this alternate routing. Where is that? Yes, alternate input. And see, this is where this board killed everything. It's just very dear to me. Now, in a mixer, you can bring in input through at least maybe 4. This one may be about 7 to 8 different means. You can bring in signal into the mixer. One of them is we use the Cat5 alone from that one. So we're able to duplicate all the signal that's coming to that one. We're able to duplicate it here. You can also connect input directly to the back. We call it local input. That's what we have here. So if you go to routing and you go to sources, you see different sources. You see local input. Local input is what you have here, the XLR. Apart from the local input, you have auxiliary in as well, the jack at the back. You have 8 of them also. Apart from that, you have AES. We can actually also connect that mixer to these 2 AES cable. AES XLR. If you look at the back, you see that port also. You can also, no, this is an oscillator. No, this is an internally generated signal oscillator. There is also AES-A. This is what we are using, AES-A. That's Cat5. So you have 3 of them, A, B, C. You have what we call stage connect also. That's another type of XLR, but a digital XLR. You have USB audio. That is USB. I can play back what I've recorded. Where is that? Do I have a flash on that mixer upstairs? Someone check for me, please. No, it's not there. Okay. I have it here. Let me just quickly. I can quickly play that back. I recorded a show here, and I can play it back for you guys in a nutshell. Just go there. Where is it? I hope it has not erased though. I don't have anything here. Okay, yeah, it just came up now. Oh. I think he's trying to. I hope the thing has not erased. I recorded some things on it. I have seen. Okay, it's not there. Where is that pouch? Let me open it. There are some flash drive while we do other things. The song I recorded there, I think it has erased. Now, what I wanted to do, I don't want to pour it here again. I have other flash drive. Let me see. This one. Now, not all flash drive also work. Sometimes you have to format it in a way that it will work with this part of the training. Sorry for our time is almost up. I think some flash drive in the back. Let's see. I just wanted to show you different ways of bringing in signal. Okay. There are no song lists here. Okay. Okay, so that means there is something there too. I was just not pressing the right thing. Yep, that's what I'm looking for. I thought the thing has erased. So I did a show sometimes in March in Edmonton. Now, this show, we didn't do sound check for the guys. We just set it up. And thank God I have some preset already. So let's see. So we need to say, okay. Why is this not playing? Play now. It's not loading. I don't know what is wrong with this system. I thought we checked it yesterday. Okay. If it's not playing, don't let's waste too much time on it. I think is that we did. Okay, this one is selecting. Now let's go back to our USB. Now I wanted to show you something the other time. Input. Now, alternative input. Yes. So, I just show you different means to bring signal in. Now, this thing now also has, you can have the main input and alternate input. What that means is that I can set all the alternate inputs to that SD card, and just with one button, just switch from whatever means main input to alternate input, so that I can play back. I can easily do virtual sound check. So I don't need to go to each channel to start select how I want the signal to come. So here, all I just need to do is select how I want the signal to come. Where is the wave play? I think it's this one. Yes, this is the card. Wave play. So channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. To not waste our time, let's just do the first 8 channels and see. And then let me go to setup, general, audio, and then I'll just select alternate. Did you see that? When I select alternative, I come back here, it has changed to card 1. So if I had selected all the input, let's see if I can do that on touch keyboard. What I'm not sure is that, what I used to record, I'm not sure if it's this same template, but we will still we'll do something anyway. USB 6, alternate. So alternate. Let me put, we've done 8, 9, this is stereo, 9, 10. We've done this, So let's try and see if we can play something. Okay, I think this one has something. This one, it sounds like Lagu Lagu. Okay. So these are the channels. These are the only channels that are coming in. This one. Any other channel coming in? Okay, this is my microphone. Ah, did you hear that? It's not me. Okay, that's what I have. Let me see if there's anything here. Okay, there's something here. Let's talk this one. Okay, this one. Okay, this one has something. So I have. Okay, this one is coming from channel 33. 16 channel. Channel 33 to. I just wanted to see if we can have something. Okay. Okay. That's probably either it's now or hi-hat. So something is bleeding in. That's a tom. Nothing is coming here. There's no kick there. Now, let's just use this one as an example. So I come near to them. And yep. So you see why this is sounding like this now. Can you hear the difference? So I've opened up the low end. Yeah. When it plays, because the instrument that is playing now, snare, doesn't have much bass, so you don't see the effect of it. So anytime it plays, can you hear the difference between that tom? If it plays the tom, it sounds bigger. You hear that? But if I take this out, anytime it plays, it sounds thinner. That's the effect of low end. There are some equipment that you don't need. You see, can you hear that? It now sounds like plastic because you've taken out the low end. And that equipment, the low end is what makes it sweet. So when it plays the tom, it will sound natural. Just listen to it and let's see. Hear that? Yeah. Now, because I didn't plan that we're going to do this, I would have brought a properly recorded multi-track, connect it to this using a USB, and then we'll be able to have all the channels and then listen. Probably in our next thing, we'll probably start from EQ and dynamic. Dynamics, we've also touched on it briefly, but I think we have fought a good fight of it today. We have run the race. Any question before we close today? Okay.
When you say channels,
yes.
Do you mean the number of inputs that go into the
Yes, somebody's just asked that question to here online. That what do I mean by channels? Yes. Usually, most times, you see a bus. If you see the advertisement of this mixer, they will tell you 48 channel, 16 bus, 4 mains. What that means is that when we can't finish everything. When we start talking about routing, we start explaining what buses are. But technically speaking, this mixer can handle 48 channel input. Let me show you. This is 1 to 12, right? The next page is 13 to 24. The next page is 25 to 36. And then you now have auxiliaries too. You now have 36, right? 36 plus 8. What's that? 44. Remaining 4. We are going to look for where the remaining 4 are. Technically, you can do 44 like this. 36, what's it called? And 24. Now, you see those 36 that we first counted up to here. You can do it in stereo. So if you come and see routing here, let's see AE8 here. You can see that routing, it goes from 1 to 48. Yeah. So what it is showing you, like, it has the capability to handle that. Do you understand? So that's why.
The channels are like, is it the wires that come in or like?
Good question. We'll be closing with this question. That's a very good question. Now, the only drawback, if I want to say, with this board is, and it's not really a drawback because it's common to most professional boards, is that you hardly see them have a lot of input at the back. We call them local input. Unlike the M32, M32 has 32 local input, 16 output. X32, the same thing. The Yamaha LS9, the same thing. Yamaha M7, the same thing. That is, you can connect your input directly, physically behind them. But by the time you start going to more professional mixers, they use what we call a stage box. So it's your stage box that will take in all the input. And these ones also can use stage box, but they also have physical input, like local input. So the stage box is over there. Yeah. So it has 32 input, 16 output. That means if we are using that stage box with this, we can connect. This one also has some at the back, local input. It just only has 8. So if you had 8 plus 32, that's 40. That means by default, you can do 40. But you can also add another stage box and cascade them, connect them together, so that this board will now see more than 32 input. Do you understand? That's the beauty.
So then this board then connect directly
to the stage board using a Cat5 cable. Yeah. So we call it digital snake. So it makes more sense in terms of cable management. Before this, we used to do what we call snake cable. There is one very big back cable that we now have multi-mount, and now just plug it into the mixer. That people still use that. We have that also, but this one just makes it easier. You just put the stage box close to the musician, close to where all the inputs are going to go in, and you just run one digital snake to the board, and the life is easy. So that's the beautiful thing about technology. Now, I said something the other time. The reason why we're able to connect these 4 mixers together is because they are of the same make, like they are family members, right? We can't connect these to all those Yamaha, but there is a way we can do that. It's called audio networking. So that's where you now start talking about Dante. Now, what Dante does is very ingenious, very amazing. They created a system that will make any digital board to work together, the only thing you need to get is you need to get the Dante card. So where we have the card at the back here, we get a Dante card, probably a 64-channel Dante card. We install it on this board. We install another Dante card on that board. All the mixers, all the equipment you want to work on a Dante network, you install a Dante card on them, and you can just link them with a Cat5 cable. And all of them will talk to each other. Do you understand? Just like we did this one. The same principle, but a different network protocol. So, and by the grace of God, I'm a certified Dante network engineer. At least I've done level 1, level 2, level 3. I've not probably done some advanced level. So I can configure a system, I can set it up, a Dante network. That even big churches, that's what they use. In fact, Dante has gone to the point that even wireless microphone uses Dante. So everything is connected on a network. So you can easily connect them. They are more versatile. They are more, you don't do more cabling. Even monitoring system, Dante. Microphone, Dante. Speaker, there are speakers that they are manufacturing now that you don't need to run, you just need to power them on and run the network cable and you control it through Dante. So the technology is improving. Any other question? I'm not seeing or hearing it. Okay. We are seeing and hearing you, sir. Okay, someone had mentioned microphone line level. So the channel, I believe we've answered that. So channels are essentially the input, how many inputs, like input count. Like, okay, so this is a 48 channel. That means we are able to connect up to 48 inputs. There are some, like all those high-end digital, you can connect up to 96 inputs. Those are the ones they use in big concert. And lastly, I've said lastly how many times now? Eh? Okay, ask. We are wrapping up.
Each microphone is an input.
Microphone is an input.
So, for example, I'm just giving an estimate. We are saying everything happening on that stage is about.
It's no, it's
like, for example, if the bass, the lead.
Okay, let's count. Can we count now? We have a kick. 1.
For the drummer.
For the drum kick.
Inside kick. Is it the inside?
Just one kick. Okay. Just kick. Start counting. I'm giving you the list. I want you to count. Okay, kick 1. Kick, snare. 1, 2. Tom 1. 3. Tom 2. 4. Floor tom.
5.
Overhead. 6. There's one I'm missing. Hi-hat.
7.
So we have 7 inputs for drums. Ideally, go in the standard place you can have up to 10, because in some cases you have snare top, snare bottom. You have kick in, kick out, and you have 2 overheads. So by the time you have those ones, and what that does is it just makes you to have robust. So you listen to some mix, you see that the drum is big. It sounds big. Do you understand? Because they have, and they are properly mic'd. So that's 7 for drums. Now for the main keyboard, we have 2 channels, left and right. How many is that? 9, right? For the second keyboard, we have 1. 10. For the bass guitar, we have 1.
11.
Electric guitar, occasionally. 12. What else? Talking drum. 13. So that's 13 for. Now, for singers, we have 8 channels. 13 plus 8. 21. For talk, we have a separate microphone for ministers, pastors. We have 4 of them.
25. So
we are running 25 channels, at least, on a typical Sunday. Now, talk back mic, we have 2 talk mic, 27. We have 1 more talk back mic upstairs that
like
we also.
Using to communicate?
Yes. Not this one, talk back mic. There is a normal mic we set up for talk back. That one, we set it up, they are the only one that can hear it. Loop. So we counted how many? 28, Abby? Yeah. Loop 29. Yeah. Drummer, all musicians. So they can communicate among themselves. We also can talk to them from upstairs that if they are playing rubbish, we can say, you are playing rubbish. But we don't do that. Yeah. Do you understand? So we have about 28 now. Now, when we are designing a system for a church, we want to at least give a room for more 8. Just in case the church expands, they need to add something. So when you come to us, you said, we want to start a church or want to go into a new building, we need to upgrade our system, we need to set up new. These are the questions we ask. First, what's the budget? Because if we design the beautiful system, it's still money that you use to execute. How much do you think you want to spend for this? Now, that we will now begin to ask, okay, do you do live stream? One of the reasons why I've installed this mixer for about at least 5 to 6 churches now, including our own church. Another church is even planning to upgrade to this. This is amazing because it has 4 main outputs. Now look at this one, this board, if we can show it. This one only has 1 left and right. This one is only 1 left and right. Now that one has 4. So you see the difference. That's why the price, in fact, the funny thing is that this one and this one, they're almost the same price. The only one that is cheaper is this. This one is more expensive because of the preamp I talk about. This mixer and mixer, they are the same thing, but the preamp that comes with this one is a little bit better than the one that comes with this one. Now you get better sound from that mixer if you use the stage box from Midas. Separation from Behringer. If you leave me, I will continue. Let's close. And then we will try as much as possible to organize this, to make this monthly. But like I said, we need money to put this together. It costs money. So thank you very much for coming. Those of us that are joining online, I believe we have answered all the questions. Is there any question from Slido that we have not attempted? No question. Okay, great. So with this viewpoint of mine, I hope I've been able to show you that being a sound engineer is interesting. It's fulfilling, actually, you know. It's also very interesting. It can be frustrating. It's a lot of work. Because you're dealing with people. And dealing with people is not easy. Okay. I think we've attempted that question. Is the preamp for the mixer inbuilt or a separate hardware? It's inbuilt. The preamp for the mixer is usually inbuilt. In some mixer, the preamp is built on the stage box. So, for example, this Behringer wing now, we can use most of the Midas DL series for it. Now, if you use a Midas DL series for this board, it will sound amazing compared to using a Behringer S32 because the preamp on that stage box is solid. So in some cases, the preamp is built on the mixer. For those that can connect, you can connect locally. And if the mixer uses a stage box, it's on it. In fact, Allen and Ace DL series, the mixer is just a surface, control surface. The processing power is on the stage box. So there are some mixers like that what is doing all the processing, what is doing all the bulk of the work is on the stage box. The mixer itself is just like a control surface. So, brethren, we shall see. Are they also connected to the mixer? Where does the power amp comes in? Okay, we didn't get to the power amps. We are closing. That's why we won't be able to attempt this question. You can reach us. I will probably find time to answer some of these questions, but power amps coming. Power amps is another, this is a mixing workshop, so that's why we are focusing more on the mixer. We'll probably do 1 or 2 more mixing workshops, and then we'll go to some other interesting system tuning. There's a lot that makes a good sound. That's just the summary. All right, thank you very much for joining us. We are glad you can join us. Yeah, before I go, people that made this happen, I'm going to call names. I promise that we're going to call names. Thanks to Daniel Wabuko Deiko. He's the man behind the camera, Deiko Photography. The main brain behind this, all the graphics, all the email, everything you are receiving, Clifford is just, I would just think about something, I would just call it, I would just message, Clifford, you're not, Clifford, you wish you, Clifford is, thank you very much, you, and then Dubem, Fikumi, I disturbed them a lot, so they helped in setting up this, so for as many of us, don't let's rush home to help us, tear down and we'll make this place ready for service and for choir rehearsal. They are coming very soon. So it's been a pleasure, and hopefully we are able to do something like this next month. We will see. the season is getting busier for us. That's just it. We are entering summer, so weekends. Another method we are looking at. Okay, maybe we just do this virtually, and then we'll send out the link, and then people can register. But we need to keep the momentum. We still have a lot to talk about. But I believe it has been that's worth it, right? This is not a waste of time. Okay, good. We thank God. All right, we can go offline, and thank you for joining us. Thank you.